You're good to start.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you all for joining tonight's the late night Shaykh show Qiyam program, What Really Matters. With our lineup of guest speakers, it's going to be a really exciting program, inshallah. Thank you all for joining. And don't forget, you can win amazing prizes. Remember to text 786-373-6993. As soon as you know the answer to the giveaway questions, you can hit us up with a text and we'll be giving away these amazing prizes. All right, Brother Hassan, whenever you're ready, you can get started, inshallah.
Awesome. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What an honor to be with you all tonight. My name is Hassan Ilyas. I will be your main host for the late night Shaykh show. Very, very excited for this program. For those of you guys that don't know, the way it's going to be going down is we're going to be having different sheikhs, ustads, brothers, sisters that will be our panelists tonight. We're going to be asking questions. It's going to be a very fun, entertaining night, as well as there'll be questions for the audience. First, as we get started, for those of you guys that are joining, if you guys could let us know where you guys are coming from. You guys know this is a nationwide program. We have massages and youth programs from California, Texas, Illinois. We have interpreters from Virginia, from Chicago. And for those of you guys that didn't know, this whole event is being interpreted as well by none other than Muhsin.org. If you guys haven't heard of them, they actually are one of the #1 organizations that are carrying out special needs assistance for Muslims around the nation. I want to say for the world, but I'm not sure, but for sure I'll say the nation. So before we begin, inshallah, we want to start the program off with some recitation from none other than Hafiz Anas, reigning from IOK. Hafiz Anas, can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Okay. By the way, where are you calling in from today?
Calling in from the living room of my house.
Love it. What city? Are you in Texas? Are you in Florida?
No, we're from Irvine, California.
Irvine, California. So it looks like we're gonna have a lot of Cali folk tonight, inshallah. All right, brother, the floor is yours, inshallah.
All right, Bismillah. I'll be reciting from Surah An-Nisa, verses 57 to 59, inshallah ta'ala, and then I'll be following it up with the translation as well. All right? Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات سندخلهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا لهم فيها أزواج مطهرة وندخلهم ظلا ظليلا إن الله يأمركم أن تؤدوا الأمانات إلى أهلها وإذا حكمتم بين الناس أن تحكموا بالعدل إن الله نعم ما يعظكم به إن الله كان سميعا بصيرا يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله والرسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا. As for those who believe and do good deeds, We shall admit them into gardens graced with flowing streams, and there they will remain forever. They will have pure spouses there, and we shall admit them into cool, refreshing shade. God commands you to return things entrusted to you to their rightful owners. And if you judge between people, to do so with justice. God's instructions to you are excellent, for he hears and sees everything. You who believe, obey God and the messenger, and those in authority among you. If you are in dispute over any matter, refer it to God and the messenger. If you truly believe in God in the last day, that is better and fair in the end. Jazakallahu khairan.
Subhanallah. Jazakallah khair, Hafiz Anas. And for those of you guys that didn't know, this first recitation section was actually sponsored by the co-owner of Avicenna Oils, which is Hafiz Anas. So guys, for those of you guys that don't know, if you guys want to win prizes throughout the night, you guys got to text answers to this number. It's 786-373-6993. Let me say that again. It's 786-373-6993. And for those of you guys that are interested in winning the first prize, it's actually going to be probably, it may or may not be our easiest question of the night. But our first sponsor is actually going to be giving away one product from Avicenna Oils. If you guys haven't heard of them, which one thing that's really cool is they cater to, so you know, like weddings, like they have caters. They actually catered this bottle for my sister's wedding. Super crazy. I actually break my fast with this. I'm joking, it's fragrance. You probably shouldn't, but they have beard oils. They have products for sisters and brothers. So I want to give you guys some time, but the first question, just remember, if you guys want to win anything, and if you guys want to go on the website, it's Avicenna, it's AVICENNA oils.com. And all you have to do is text the right answer to this number. If you're first, you're actually going to be winning the prize. So the first question of the night, make sure you text 786-373-6993. It's probably the easiest question of the night. What month are we in? Starting off with easy stuff. I know. Remember to text your response, 786-373-6993. Jazakallah khair, Hafiz Anas. You can stay for the ride if you'd like and interject as well. I thank you for your recitation. It was beautiful, mashallah. Let's kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. This is the Late Night Shaykh Show with your brother Hassan Minhaji. It's the true, not the Hassan Minhaj, but it's the true Hassan Minhaji, which is me. It doesn't get any better than that. I want to introduce our first speaker. I'm very excited because we said this is a nationwide event, and our first, and by the way, if we have a winner, can you guys let me know if we have a winner? If no one got the right answer, may Allah accept your Ramadan.
I won.
You're not allowed to win. You're not allowed to win.
I don't see that in the contract.
Okay, you're not. So any of the speakers, you guys are not allowed to win. Just letting you guys know. Let's see. I don't think we got a winner yet. But once we do, I want to introduce our first speaker. This brother is actually, the Sheikh is reigning from. It's a very rural state in the country. I don't know if many of you have heard of it, but it's Illinois. Okay, and to be specific, he's coming in from Chicago. Sheikh Omar, can you hear us?
I can. It's good to be here. I feel like I'm in SoCal, honestly.
I'm surprised they have Wi-Fi out there, actually. So it's
still cold out here.
And you know what? Just for your session, I actually I wanted to like fit the vibe, so I brought my Chicago.
Good one.
I had to keep it good. So, brother Jake, thank you so much for joining. How is your Ramadan going so far?
Alhamdulillah, beautiful. It's different, but it's a unique experience, and we're enjoying it. Alhamdulillah.
So tell us a little about you. For those that don't know you, I just recently heard about you, right? Like I was talking to the interpreters, and by the way, guys, this whole event is interpreted for the whole night. And they were saying they're like, oh, I don't really know any of the speakers except Suhaib Webb. And I was like, wait, you've never heard about me before? But I was like, okay, wait, that's good, because like I actually don't know too much about our own panelists, our own speakers, our own sheikhs. So Sheikh, can you tell us a little about us? Where'd you go to school? Are you originally from Chicago, born and raised? How long have you been studying for? Are you still studying? What's kind of going on?
Yeah, I mean, Hassan, the first time I just met you virtually just a few weeks back, and the first thing I saw was you shooting a basketball as we were on a Zoom meeting, walking around like your house and stuff. So it was nice meeting you like that as well. But no, alhamdulillah, I'm actually born in Michigan. I'm representing the Michigan. I know people know Chicago, but I'm born in Michigan, raised in Chicago, alhamdulillah. Just been around here and there. I consider SoCal like my third home. So it's like Michigan, Chicago, Medina, SoCal. Fourth then, I guess. But alhamdulillah, I got the opportunity to study in Medina. I've been back a few years. So I work here in Chicago with the youth mainly.
What masjid are you part of?
It is called the Islamic Center of Naperville. I know it's not, ISOC or Islamic Center of San Diego. We don't have the beach 5 minutes away, but Corona, whatever, masjid I'm talking about. But alhamdulillah, it's Islamic Center of Naperville. For those who come to Chicago, come visit us.
Yeah. By the way, is anyone here that's on from Chicago or Naperville?
We do have someone. I'm getting some random messages making fun of me, basically, from our youth group. So I think we have some people.
So are you going to be in Chicago permanently now, or are you here for a few years?
My dream is to move to SoCal one day.
Why?
Just because of the beach, though. The ocean, I should say. But yeah, I'm here in Chicago. Alhamdulillah, my family's out here, so this is the spot.
SubhanAllah. And what did you study in Medina?
I studied Arabic and I studied Sharia, Islamic law.
Okay, very cool. And you work pretty closely with the youth, is that correct?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So I've been a youth director actually since I got back from Medina, and now I'm kind of transitioning a little bit more towards like a little bit higher, a little bit older education, but once with the youth, always with the youth. Keeps me young, alhamdulillah. So
what's your favorite thing about working with the youth?
Honestly, it's very inspiring. Wallah, like to be able to see, young people. I consider myself young too. I mean, I don't look that old, right? But like to see like younger people who have so many potential excuses or potential distractions or potential things to kind of like throw them off of practicing and say, you know what, you can worry about that later. Focus on this or that. To see those same youth take a stand, an initiative, and a dedication towards their deen, and really like not just survive but excel, and the amazing things that come from them as a result of that. So it's super inspiring, definitely.
I love it. So I know tonight, for those of you guys that don't know, Sheikh Omar is actually going to be talking about consistency, steadfastness. It's actually a pretty difficult word. And one thing for me, I would consider myself youth, but I know like when it comes to
Would you though?
I look kind of youth. Mine is I'm like balding. I'm still youth.
No, you're young. You're young, mashallah.
By the way, this hat is like super hot, like super hot.
What's the temperature like in SoCal now, by the way?
Right now, I'll tell you like live temperature right now.
Give me an average. I'm getting right now.
Like 60, 70.
It's always 70s, bro. That's a Michigan or Chicago hat.
I mean, that's because you live in San Diego, Aasim. I mean, San Diego, isn't it always 70 every single day?
Alhamdulillah. If you do move to Cali, it needs to be to San Diego, bro.
San Diego's nice, but it's kind of it's like that's like the vacation spot when you want to go and get away from things for a while. But like
I
LA,
wanted to get away
that
from
area is a
all of
little
my
bit more
OC cohorts.
Huh?
I said I wanted to get away from all of my OC cohorts and just never came back.
By the way, how do you guys know each other? For instance, so Ustadh Aasim, you've actually been saying that Sheikh Omar's your boy. Like, how do you guys know each other?
I don't think I said that, but I will say that. Alhamdulillah. We had some good talks in the past couple of weeks. But yeah, just through the Ahmed Billoo and all those guys, just connected. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so your Ahmed Billoo is your cousin, who's another sheikh.
We just share the same last name somehow.
Are you guys actually related? Like, cause
It's
I
a
hear
long story. It's weird. Just
is it like one of those relatives or like no, we were neighbors growing up, so we're related. Is
That's
it like
pretty
that?
much, that's exactly how it is. And then like when I wanted to like come to America, I borrowed his last name, his passport, stuff like that.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. You know, people are like, yeah, we're related. It's like, oh no way, you're related? How? It's like, oh well, we were friends growing up, so we're related. It's like, no, that's not what a relative is. But okay, fine, yeah, that'll work.
So back to what I was saying, Sheikh Omar. So like I know you're going to be talking about consistency. So I kind of wanted to share something personal, like in regards to consistency, especially with like what's going on with COVID, us being in quarantine. I think one thing for me, like when it comes to consistency, things that I've been doing consistently is going on Instagram and TikTok and like trying to figure out what I'm going to eat, right? So I don't know if it's like I'm not alone, right?
I've been consistently mispronouncing words. Just saying.
I don't know if that's just me or if that's all youth, but I seem to go down paths that are like more comfortable than maybe doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Sure.
So like when it comes to consistency, right? How can we add maybe the right consistency for us? That makes sense?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's natural, obviously, to gravitate towards things that we enjoy, things that we find like, you know, we find comfort in, we find to be entertaining. I mean, that's kind of who we are, right? But I think it's also, you know, is that we also recognize that there's things that are important for us to give attention to, things that are important for us to prioritize, you know, and that comes with recognition of what we need. So there's a lot that we focus on in terms of what we want, right? I want to be entertained. I want to have a lot of followers. I want to, you know, to whatever it may be. So there's a lot of focus on our wants. And again, that's natural. But what's important for consistency and for steadfastness is that we focus on, or we give attention to the things that we need, right? And a lot of times those two things aren't the same thing. You know, the goal is obviously that hopefully that what we need ends up becoming what we want and what we kind of yearn towards, but that takes time to get there. It's not something that just develops overnight. And I think the first step towards consistency and steadfastness in the things that we need is to appreciate those things, to recognize the value that they give us. So just like the things that we want, we gravitate towards them because they make us feel a certain way, or we feel like they give us something, you know, whether it's internal satisfaction, gratification, happiness, pleasure, whatever it may be. If we start to look at the things that we need in that same way and recognize that those things also carry within them this intrinsic value for us, then I think that helps us to have consistency and steadfastness in those things. And at the top of that list, is the need for a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we look at that as a burden, and we look at that as like, you know, almost with kind of an aversion or a dread, because sometimes we've grown up with this idea, a lot of us have, that, you know, becoming spiritual or becoming religious is something that takes me away from the things that I want to do. It's like just a bunch of rules. It's just a bunch of do's and don'ts. And it's, you know, anything that I want to do, I can't.
Right.
And so we look at that need then as like something that's taking me away from my wants, right? But if we look at the value that Allah has given us and the opportunity that He's given us in being able to have a relationship with Him, I think that is the first step in us being able to prioritize that and to focus on that and the consistency and the steadfastness then that comes with that. You know, one of our teachers, he mentioned, you know, when Allah talks about, for example, just one example, when Allah talks about the Quran being easy, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ, we made the Quran easy to remember, to digest, to interact with. And he said, Ibn Abbas, the cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has a very beautiful explanation or a statement. He comments on this, and he says that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hadn't made it easy, hadn't made the Quran easy, if he didn't do that, then none of us would be able to even interact with the words of Allah, because of how majestic, how, how basically, how amazing they are. And he said, and he connected that to this idea of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being a gift from him rather than a burden. And so if the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are a gift for us to be able to take in, to be able to interact with, and if you look at it, it really doesn't make sense logically. Like, how can someone like me, who's so, small and so finite and so flawed and has so many shortcomings, how can someone like me have a relationship with someone who is perfect and, someone who is infinite and someone who is, omnipotent and all powerful and all these things? The only way that something like that can make sense is if that it's a pure gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And so in what if we see it like that, then you start to appreciate that I have the opportunity to have a relationship with Allah. I have an opportunity to have a meaningful connection with the one who created not just me, but created everything around me. And even when I access the Quran, and that's what it becomes, like, we need that relationship, we need the Quran. But if you go to that and you see it as like, man, Allah is giving me the opportunity to talk to him in dua. Allah is giving me the opportunity to read his words and to hear what he's saying, then that appreciation allows us to value that thing that we need. And I think that's the first step towards consistency, towards steadfastness, is appreciating and recognizing the value of what we have by having Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as our Lord.
That's deep. That's super deep. I think, saying that, like, when we're imperfect and we're having and what it's like to have a relationship with someone so perfect, right? As the most perfect, Allah, right? And sometimes, like, when you feel like maybe I'm not good enough, right? What would you say to someone where they're like, you know what, like, I'd love to, but I'm so flawed. Like you said, like, we aren't perfect, right?
I mean, that's why it's beautiful, actually, because Allah, by virtue of him being omnipotent, perfect, all-knowing, he knows us better than we know ourselves. So he knows our flaws, and he knows our shortcomings, and he knows our insecurities and our doubts even about ourselves and our own worth. And yet he's still the same one who extends to us that opportunity. And he's still the same one who gives us that chance, regardless of, where we are or where we think we are and how far we think we are away from him. And there's so many examples of that just throughout the Quran and throughout the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is extending that opportunity and extending, that chance to us and telling us. Why does he tell us, for example, about, why does the Prophet ﷺ, it was coming from Allah, of course, telling us that there was a person who killed 99 people, right? And then he killed 100, and then he had just a desire to come back to Allah. And so he went around asking, is there a way for me to come back? And just that desire, just that willingness, just that intention to come back, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees the truthfulness of that person with the amount of flaws that he's carrying, with the amount of shortcomings that he's carrying. But he took a step to try to come back, to try to mend that relationship with Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appreciated that and fulfills that intention and that request for that person, even though he doesn't even end up, really doing much after that, in terms of, like, he didn't live another 20 years, just doing things to make up for what he did. No, he just made a journey and he dies on that journey, right? But because he had made that journey, he had started, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, judged him based off of that. And so the idea is, like, yeah, I may not feel like I'm worthy enough. I may feel like I have so much on my shoulders, so many sins. I'm sitting here talking to you all, and I know, what I've done, and I know what I do, and all these things. And yet still with that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives that opportunity. And Allah can forgive us and will forgive us a lot of times for things that, we can't even forgive ourselves for. And all it takes for us is just to recognize, you know, again, who Allah is. And that's because of who he is. And he tells us those things about himself, so we can recognize that, and we can try to say, you know what, I'm going to take that first step. I'm going to try. I'm struggling, I'm flawed. I'm going to make mistakes, no doubt about it. But I'm still going to make an attempt.
SubhanAllah.
That's
I think,
deep. Jazakallah khair.
taking that first step is probably, would you say like the first step is the hardest, right? Like they always say like, when you're going to start a business, or when are you going to go join that class, or when you're going to decide on what your major is going to be. Deciding is like the hardest part. Taking the first step is always the hardest part. But the thing is once you start making that relationship, it just gets easier and easier.
Exactly. Definitely.
Feeling of the relationship being a burden, man. SubhanAllah. Like I never thought about it that way. But yeah, man, I think for a multitude of reasons, right? Like feeling that you're not good enough, which perhaps a lot of that comes from Shaitan, right?
For
And
sure.
then also the whole we feel that type of burden sometimes in our relationship with others as well, right? And that, like, as chaplains, counselors, youth directors, we come across those type of scenarios. But I never thought of it in the aspect of the relationship between the worshiper and the divine. SubhanAllah, that's deep, man.
Yeah, SubhanAllah.
Hey, I have a question for the Shaykh, actually. I don't know if we're at the Q&A portion yet. But Shaykh, could you elaborate a little bit more on how you said, it stood out to me, and it was kind of deep. And it's deep even though I don't even fully understand it yet. But you said Allah forgives us for things we don't even forgive ourselves for. Could you touch on that, please?
Yeah, I mean, so like that's something I'm not gonna lie to you. I heard that myself. I was like, man, that's deep, and I didn't even fully understand it, right? But I know it sounded good, so I was like, man, I know there's something to that, right? But when you think about it, it's a lot of times the obstacle to the burden, like, or I'm sorry, the obstacle to coming back to Allah is a lot of times we feel like we're not worthy, or we feel like, you know, I've done too much, or we feel like, you know, there's no coming back from this. And so that becomes our, you know, we become our own greatest obstacle back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it could be something that, you know, that we experienced, or that we did, or that we went through, that we just feel like, you know, it's too late, I'm done, I might as well keep going down that path. And so we're not able to even forgive ourselves. And so we assume that I can't forgive myself, so it's not even worth it for me to come back to Allah. It's not worth it for me to take that step back to Allah. But what we know and what we understand about Allah, who he is that one thing that, especially through this whole, like from the beginning of this whole pandemic and stuff, is just, you see how much hope Islam provides for us. And that's a manifestation of who Allah is. And that there's never, ever a situation where a person will be hopeless. Never. Like, if they're sincere and they want to come back to Allah, there's never, as long as the person is alive, there's no situation where a person can say, I don't have any hope. Right? And that's what you find also, like with the companions when it came to the Prophet ﷺ, is that I never came across, and you guys can correct me, you probably know more about these things, but you never find a situation or a scenario where a companion goes to the Prophet ﷺ and is seeking hope, or is seeking betterment, or maybe even is going and is down on themselves, like, I messed up, there's no chance for me. You never find that the Prophet ﷺ like turned them back and left them without hope. You always find that they left either with something that they're able to work on, to build on, or they left with a sense of inspiration, a sense of hope, a sense of belief in themselves because of Allah's mercy. And then our teachers, they said, how could the Prophet ﷺ ever leave someone hopeless when he is, a manifestation, he's a mercy in and of himself, a manifestation of that mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that again, that will forgive us and will give us those chances and those opportunities as long as we seek them, even if we ourselves are not at that point where we can, forgive ourselves, as we say.
SubhanAllah, so many lessons. Sheikh, if there was one lesson or one takeaway that you can give us youth, right? from everything you said, what would be one takeaway where we can maybe think about and actually start applying right away, right? Something easy, something that you're like, you know what, if I had to sum it all up, it'd be this: start here and just go for it.
Okay, I'll say two things. One is theoretical, I guess, and then one is like you can actually start practicing it as soon as we get off this, right? So the theoretical, but also that's practical, is number one, never give up on your relationship with Allah. Never, ever, no matter what you've done, no matter what's happened, no matter what you think you're gonna do, no matter what. Don't ever give up on your relationship with Allah, no matter what anyone else tells you either, right? Sometimes outside forces or external influences are obstacles. Never give up on your relationship with Allah, number one. And then number two, open up the door between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through speaking to Allah on a daily basis. That's the fancy word for that, dua. The fancy word for that, dua, right? But what it really boils down to is you being able to open up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and talk to him. That's something consistent, and that'll help inshallah keep us steadfast. May Allah keep us all steadfast. Is to always to have, like, even if you want to write it in on a schedule, something that you're doing on a daily basis, speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe if you didn't do it before, it's going to come across as going to be a little awkward, a little uncomfortable. What am I doing exactly? But that's where consistency comes in. Try it. Even if it's a minute a day in the beginning, try it. Always speak to Allah, talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be able to pour your heart out to Allah, about your problems, about your issues, about your needs, about how you're feeling, turn to Allah. And that doesn't mean you don't turn to other people. You can, you can find comfort in people, but before anyone, try to find that comfort in Allah. So two things, like I said, never give up on Allah, and talk to Allah daily.
I think this is like the best time to talk to Allah. Like, no one's there. Like, we're in quarantine, we're in our houses. Like, it's a great time to pour it all out, right?
For sure.
And as we're wrapping up, Jazakallah for your time, Sheikh Omar. I know you're in Illinois and Chicago. Is it okay if we do a quick rapid fire session? Basically, the first answer that comes to your head, you answer it, okay?
Bring it on.
Okay. And before we do that, I want to let you guys know this session is actually sponsored by Imagination Emporium. We're actually doing another giveaway. I have a question for you guys. We're actually giving away a Quran journal. If I could just share my screen real quick and show you guys. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. This is actually a different price. This is actually coming from the Noble Shop. They actually make custom sadaqah boxes, right? You can have them in your house. You can put them wherever you want. They're actually donating one sadaqah box. You can find them on Instagram. It's at thenoble.shop. Very, very cool. It's very cool. I think I totally need to get one for my house, actually, because I need some money right now. But here's a question. This question's actually coming from Sheikh Omar. Sheikh Omar, do you want to ask the question, or would you like me to ask it for you?
Hold on, I have to ask. So you want a sadaqah box so you can give yourself sadaqah? Is that what you just said?
Aasim, don't worry.
Where does
Aasim,
the box go?
it's okay. Aasim, we just make dua for him. Aasim, and inshallah,
Sheikh Omar, do you want to ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, go for it. So guys, when you guys have the answer, you guys have to text the answer to 786-373-6993. That's 786-373-6993. Sheikh Omar, go for it.
Should I ask the trivia one, right? Not who the greatest basketball player of all time is?
Yeah.
That's easy. That's Jordan. Everyone will get that, inshallah. Okay, so the trivia question is, what was the most frequent dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What was the most frequent dua? And we're accepting two answers here. One relates to what we talked about, the idea of steadfastness, consistency, and there's another one as well. So we're accepting both, inshallah. The most frequent, or one of the most frequent du'as of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Okay. As you guys are texting in that answer, I got those rapid questions for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Hey, first thing that comes to your mind. Here we go. Chicken or beef?
Beef, 100%.
Okay. What's worse, Chicago weather or Chicago Bulls?
Neither.
Okay. You have to pick one, but we'll go with Chicago Bulls.
Right now, the Chicago Bulls are trash, but it's okay. We have we're the dynasty of all dynasties, so no problem.
Okay, if you could go anywhere in the world right now, where would it be?
Dang.
First thing that comes to your mind.
The first thing that came to my mind is Medina.
Medina is your answer.
I live there, it's home.
Last question, okay? What's one thing you wish you would have known when you were younger?
Man, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. I wish I would have known how to take advantage of my time better. I wish I would have known. I'm still struggling with that 100%, but when I was younger, I was just thinking about that actually. Like, man, I wish I would have known how to do that better. Yeah.
That's good.
I want to give a shout out also to the, I really appreciate the ASL interpreter being here and Muhsin taking care of that and stuff. And even that being an idea. I love that, honestly, mashallah, beautiful.
Sheikh Omar, thank you so much for your time. I know it's late, even for our interpreters, it's late as well. Mad respect to Muhsin Org for putting this together for us. We actually have our next speaker ready to go. Before he gets started, I kind of just want to announce who won the last prize. And can you say your question again? What was the most frequent dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, correct?
Most frequent dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yes.
Okay, so just to announce the winner of the first one, I won't say the area code, but the area code is blank, blank, blank. And then the number, it's 867-3434. So you actually answered the first question. You actually won Abyssina oils. And we will hit you up so you can pick your prize and they will ship it out to you. And I think we actually have a winner already for yours. It looks like it's coming from an area code that's not from California. That's all I can say. But if your number outside of the area code, it's 229-8021. That's 229-8021. You actually won the most frequent dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Sheikh Omar, since they did answer that, could you actually answer it with that dua?
Okay, which one did they answer with? Ya Muqallib al-Qulub?
Correct.
Okay, good. Very nice. That's one actually I was looking for originally. So it's Ya Muqallib al-Qulub wal-Absar, Thabbit qalbi ala dinik, which is, O turner of the hearts and of the sights, make my heart firm and steadfast on your deen, on your way.
Sheikh Omar, feel free to stay on if you'd like.
So I might be coming in and out. It's kind of late here, you know how it is, but you know.
No worries.
I'm gonna stay on, inshallah, logged on, so I'm around.
Okay, so we're actually gonna be switching to our next guest. He actually may be more rural than Illinois. I'm just joking. We have we have Ustadh Safi Khan coming from Texas, Dallas, Texas. Is that correct?
Dallas, Texas. That's right.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is actually our first time meeting.
It is. It's actually, alhamdulillah, an honor to be here amongst people. I'm glad that Sheikh Omar won before me, because if I won before him, it's like kind of withholding the main course. And so alhamdulillah, I'm glad that he set the bar really high. So inshallah.
Bro, I'm just a samosa to your Nahari and Halim, bro. That's all.
SubhanAllah, man. Can someone quote that thing right there?
I'm just a hummus to your mentor, bro.
I gotta ask, how do you guys know each other? I'm always fascinated on, like, Brother Aasim didn't give me a great job of how Omar and both of you guys know each other.
So I'll actually narrate this. Sheikh Omar is actually a very close friend of my brother-in-law, who Ustadh Murphy. So I met Sheikh Omar Hedroug, man, when I was like a kid. I don't know if he remembers me. We played ball one time at the I believe it was a masjid in Lombard, Illinois, and we hooped. And I think this was before I had hair on my chin. So alhamdulillah, it's like it's been a while, but it's good to see him. Alhamdulillah.
It's always a pleasure, Safi. It's always a pleasure. Allah bless you.
You know a lot about the Medina guys. They played ball one time and then you never hear about it again. I don't know.
What is that supposed to mean?
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know what you're talking about. The Medina guys are the best ballers out here, bro. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, by the way, guys, I actually changed up the outfit, the wardrobe. For,
Are you going to a wedding?
I did just, you know.
Cleared samosa and nihari and put on a sherwani.
You look like a Desi samurai, dude.
Like that, dude. Like that. It's for the youth, man. You got to do it in the name of Islam.
It looks good. It looks good.
Ustadh Safi, Jazakallah khair for joining us from Texas. You're in Dallas, is that correct? Can you tell us a little bit about what you do currently, where you've studied?
So originally, I was actually in Memphis, Tennessee for a long time. Grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. crazy fan of the Memphis Grizzlies before they tanked to the bottom. We were part of the dream team when we had Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph, Tony Allen, that like dream team defense, old school basketball. Alhamdulillah, I was there for a while. Served as a youth director there. I was in the same masjid as Sheikh Yasser Qadi, who also ironically came to Dallas, which is pretty awkward. We both dipped at the same time. That's pretty messed up, bro. And alhamdulillah, moved to Dallas about 1.5 years ago. And now I'm currently serving as the teacher and chaplain of teens and college students here at the Roots community space, alongside Ustadh Abdurrahman. And also I'm a teacher of youth. I do a lot of online youth classes at Qiyam. I'm a student there as well, alhamdulillah. So that's the Dallas life, man. I'm just as new to Dallas as a lot of other people, man. I'm just embracing that Texas lifestyle.
And I know you said something about Roots, so I know that there's actually a lot of attendees here from around the nation. For those that maybe aren't plugged into a community, could you tell us what Roots is? I mean, I don't even know myself. I see some stuff on Instagram, but what do you guys do there? What does it offer to us youth?
So Roots, alhamdulillah, is kind of like that concept of like a community space. It's not a masjid. We don't function as, pray 5 daily prayers a day at the community space itself. We encourage people to go to the masajid for that. But Roots, alhamdulillah, is kind of like a space where a lot of people, young people specifically, whether you're high school, college, young professional, you come and you kind of embrace a community space where you feel very, very at home. There's a lot of times where at the masjid, and I've kind of been on both sides before myself, where I was a youth director at a masjid, and there were times where we were kind of like, taking the PS4 out, and then Uncle Saab comes in, mashallah, he's like, hey, Dhuhr time, and so like so Roots, alhamdulillah, is kind of like the solution to that, where you're able to kind of go there, be yourself, be who you are, come as you are, don't have to feel intimidated or judged spiritually, religiously, but at the same time, be taught and learn Islam from a traditional point of view, because like, again, all of us at Roots, we're all students and pupils of Qiyam Institute, right? So our teacher, Sheikh Abdul Nasser Jangda, Mufti Kamani, we got all the alhamdulillah, the Adams at Qiyam, who kind of, obviously back us up in terms of the tradition that we follow at Roots, alhamdulillah. But it's kind of like a third space, community space type of motto, where people just come as they are and they don't have to worry about, just like, their background, where they come from, etc. So it kind of makes them feel very welcome there, alhamdulillah. So
I like it. So I've actually been totally stalking your Instagram since I met you on our first call.
Nice.
You're not in a bad way, in a good way, but you're big time, I wouldn't say foodie, but big time coffee lover. Is that correct?
Yeah, man. I mean, a part of Roots, that's actually a part of the job, man. We have this giant espresso machine at Roots, bro. I mean, when we're not teaching, we're actually pulling shots of espresso. We're making lattes and cappuccinos and affogatos and matchas and all that good stuff. And it's a part of the job, alhamdulillah. So me and Ustadh always joke around. We say, like, if we weren't teaching Islam, we'd definitely be baristas in some random hipster town. That's just, it's a term we call, sohba, sohba, the roots of sahaba, which kind of brings companionship together. And sometimes, people who walk into a program or a gathering, I think a lot of young people, they have trauma memories of their parents dropping them off at programs forcibly. They don't know anybody there, and they're just there by force. But I think the idea of kind of like breaking bread and drinking some coffee together, grabbing some good food or something like that, inshallah, it's like a good way to kind of build bridges and break ice. And that's the whole concept, it's like the idea of kind of breaking ice and being comfortable. So alhamdulillah, man, it's a lifestyle. And then I bought my own machine at home, so my wife
bro, I have to say, the greatest cup, sorry to interrupt, Hassan, but
no, go ahead.
The greatest cup of coffee till now that I've ever had in my life was made by Ustadh Abdurrahman Murphy.
Allahu Akbar.
Greatest cup of coffee.
Did he bring the machine? Did he bring the machine mobily?
Bro, he brought the machine mobily to Hajj. He was making coffee at Billoo. At his house, it was unreal. That brought me into coffee. Huh?
The espresso machine made Hajj as well.
Dude, he literally brought that AeroPress and he was making cups of coffee in Mina. I was like,
that's how it works, man. It's dedication, it's life, it's a lifestyle.
By the way, Sheikh Omar is actually, if you guys follow him on Instagram, he actually is a big time foodie. He posts the 99 names of Allah and then he posts food right after. It's like one or the other every single night.
I gotta.
But he hasn't posted in like 3 months, dude. Like, what's going on?
It's on the stories. Like when you get like
Oh.
when you're like next level like Instagrammer, you don't post on your feed, you just post on your story.
No, man, I'm not.
I was talking about Twitter. I'm not even talking about
I'm
Instagram.
not good with it.
And I was actually telling, so like in regards to my coffee, I drink coffee every single morning. I call it Shaitan proof coffee. If you guys don't know what it is, it's bulletproof coffee. If you guys have heard of bulletproof, but it's basically, I make coffee in a French press. I get it from Portola Coffee. It's super, the beans there are like super duper good. But I put 2 tablespoons butter, walnut oil, cacao powder, collagen, 2 eggs, some cinnamon, and some mint. It is
Oh, was that your
Hold
coffee
on,
or your
I promise
omelet?
That's not California for you.
Yeah,
That's OC for you, though. That's definitely OC, millennial OC for you.
I was actually going to ask him. I said, would you like some coffee on with your eggs or with your mint? It's not really coffee.
Sounded like his omelet, dude, for the morning.
When you guys all come to California, we're gonna have
Not that bad, is it?
it's actually really good.
So
Go inside and see if you can
I
hear me.
also Instagram, I forgot what word you used, but like looked you up on Instagram or Facebook or something. I don't know who you are because I heard about you from Roots too. This guy's not old enough to drink coffee.
It's
Man,
true.
that's how to preserve your youthful look.
Subhanallah, man. Subhanallah. That's why I keep the beard. You know, everyone thinks it's for sunnah. It's actually for self-protection, man. I get roasted.
What's it like working with the youth?
Alhamdulillah, man. It's a blessing, I think. You know, I think kind of what Sheikh Omar was mentioning before, I kind of resonate that same mentality where something that I feel very strongly about is giving young people an experience of Islam that is not something that pushes them away, but draws them closer. You know, something like, you know, even listening to examples, traditions from the life of the Prophet ﷺ, is just so inspirational for young people because sometimes they just haven't heard the stories from a point of view through which they understand. You know, like they never hear stories of the Prophet ﷺ when he was a teenager. So like they almost grow up thinking that the Prophet was born 40 years old, you know, and that's just not true, right? So I think for young people, it's very important to present Islam through a lens through which they understand. I mean, I have kind of like an educational background. My bachelor's is actually in education, teaching education. So like I do a lot of like differentiated education. So like a person who sits down who's like 35 at a halaqah is not going to, you know, soak up and absorb information or knowledge the same way that a 16-year-old will. You have to present it in a different way through which, you know, people just in different demographics understand. And I think that's really, really important. I think, you know, everyone who's worked as a youth director or who serves the youth at any capacity, they understand that to be extremely true, right? Yeah.
To be honest, like as I was growing up, this might go towards my intelligence, but maybe it's for everybody. But like, honestly, I feel like a lot of stuff went over my head until I was like 16 or 17. There's a really funny story, right? To show you like how much I really didn't know what was going on. I was at this dinner party with all these sheikhs. My brother-in-law, Sheikh Mozammil, the other boy, if you guys know him, we had a dinner at his house, right? Okay, I'm like 16 or 17 years old. And like to tell you like when stuff went over my head, like stuff really went over my head. So they're all like, you know, they're talking about like names for children, right? And I want to say sheikhs, dude, they were like all the big sheikhs in SoCal. And, you know, this is like, I think he was about to marry my sister or he just married my sister. And they're like exchanging names and stuff. And I was like, you know what would be a really sick name for a son? And they're like, yeah, like, what do you think? And I was like, you know, like, I think a really cool name is Pharaoh. Pharaoh is like one of the coolest names ever. And I didn't know what I was saying, first off, right? The sheikh almost killed me. He's like, dude, what is wrong with you, man? Like, and I legit, like when I told you my connection was gone, I was in a different place when I was younger. But yeah, it was bad. So I think
that's actually kind of funny that you mentioned that because I know somebody. It's kind of like the whole like picking a name out of the Quran to give your kid. I know a girl named Claudia, which literally means calamity. And I'm like, why? So what's the reason behind this? She's like, oh, it just sounded nice. I'm like, oh, okay, it's cool. So
that being said, though, like my brother-in-law, Sheikh Mozammil, he was so patient with me, right? Like he knew, like, you know what, like. He had a way of connecting with me to where it made sense, and then he like kind of slowly brought me along. And I feel like sometimes youth they get turned off very easily when it comes to learning about the deen or connecting to a program or like, oh, this
right.
is this, right? Like, do you ever get in those situations?
Yeah, man. I mean, usually what we are is actually the recipients of those people that go through that issue, right? Like parents drop their kids off and they're like 17 years old and they have like 16 years of trauma spiritually. And they're like, all right, so fix this kid in a week. And I'm like, no, it's not gonna happen, dude. It's like 17 years of prison, bro. It's like you gotta give me some time. But you know, but it's true. I mean, it really is. I mean, not to kind of sound dramatic, but it really is closely tied to the idea of trauma. Because I think religion is such a personal thing, and I think people's, you know, their fitra, their kind of like willingness to kind of be close to Allah is such a sensitive thing. Then when it's abused, you know, for years, it takes a lot of remedying, right? It takes a lot of time to remedy that sort of abuse and that sort of that kind of experience negatively that they went through. So I completely feel you 100%. I mean, that's why, I mean, a lot of people who become youth directors or start the youth work, they actually resonate on that level because they also went through a portion of that, right? Just like you were talking about. So I think it's very crucial. Absolutely.
And I guess that kind of goes into your topic because, like, you know, depending on what, like, as youth, we all come from different backgrounds, right? And I think Omar mentioned it a little bit as well. But you know, in regards to creating an intimate relationship with Allah, you know, I talked about in one of the videos, like, to promote the event, was like, what is, like, if we're going to be talking about our creating an intimate relationship with Allah, like, what is our current relationship status, and where do we go from where we're at now to actually having you know, that relationship?
Right. Well, first and foremost, I think something that's really important is to realize the necessary steps of building a relationship. I think one of the really serious flaws that we have in our generation, and I'll say our generation because I'm honestly part of that generation, that, you know, we want to get from like zero to the perfect relationship from the beginning. Right. And I mean, let's like put aside the relationship with Allah for a second, but look at any relationship other than Allah, right? Personal relationships that we have. You know, a lot of young people struggle with the idea of like making friends properly, right? When we first meet somebody, we want to go from zero to like best friends right away. Same thing works with marriage, right? Like when you want to get married, you're like, you dream of like that Shah Rukh Khan kind of moment where you're like, oh man, like, why? How does that man have it so quickly, right? Like, how does that happen? And the reality is that, you know, people are overlooking the very necessary steps of what it takes to get to that level. And I think also this is true because we live in a very like, you know, idealistic society now where, you know, we just want to get there without doing the actual work, right? But relationships, that's just how relationships work. They take a lot of work. They take a lot of work and a lot of time. And the same thing works with Allah. And I think the unrealistic kind of precedence that we put on our young people is to go from praying 0 prayers a day to becoming like Hafidh al-Quran. Like that just doesn't work, man. Like it's just not going to happen. You know, rather, you know, we need to start, like the first thing we need to do is understand and appreciate the steps of building a relationship. And one of the first steps of building a relationship is getting to know the person you want to have that relationship with. Right. So understanding why you want a relationship with Allah to begin with in the first place. Right. Who is he? Why is he who he is? Right. Why should I care? You know, these are really important questions to ask, because if we just say like, oh, hey, you know, random kid, come here to this youth program, we're going to pray 5 prayers a day. Kids super confused about like why he's even there. There was a really cool story that I remember one of my teachers and I were talking about. A parent dropped off like a kid to a program one time, and she was like, you know, here, just take this kid. And it was her like 15, 16-year-old son. And the kid clearly just did not care. He just did not care at all. And he was like, I just want to go outside and play basketball. And so my teacher was like, all right, just go play ball. Just go play ball. Like, I'm not going to force you here as punishment. Yeah. You know, because what happens, because if they're forced to stay in a session, like a spiritual reflection session, then what they're going to do is they're just going to associate that session as a part of their trauma, you know. But like an imam or like a youth director or whatever you want to call it is like telling that kid, like, just go play outside for 5 minutes and then we'll talk after. You know, that could actually make a whole world of a difference. You know, sometimes I think the best thing for a youth director or a chaplain to do is actually to have personal conversations outside of the programs with people. You know, and I think imams would also feel the same way. The biggest differences are made in those personal moments, right? Forget about being surrounded by people. Forget about being a part of that program. Forget about like sitting in a classroom full of like 30 other kids or 40 kids. Just like having that personal moment is extremely important. And the same exact thing works with Allah, right? A lot of times, and this Ramadan, really interestingly, is a very, very big example of that. You know, I remember, you know, we were talking about this the other day with myself and Mufti Kamani, we're on a live stream on Instagram. And we were saying, we're like, man, subhanAllah, you know, I agree. Mufti Kamani, man, if everybody knows Mufti Kamani like trains his kids in jujitsu like in their garage during his free time. It's all over his Instagram. He's like, I'm like, why do you make your kids do dua in the rain outside and then go inside and do like 8,000 push-ups? And he's like, you stop stalking my Facebook Instagram accounts. but you know what's really interesting though is that this quarantine, me and him were talking the other day, this quarantine has actually forced everyone to focus on a one-on-one relationship with God. You know, because you don't have the luxury of community this time, you know, and we related to like playing zone defense versus playing one-on-one. You know, when you're playing zone defense, the objective of playing zone defense is to cover up the weakest defender, right? To make sure that you got backup going. And sometimes that's how we are with community, right? Sometimes we have a weak relationship with Allah, and Ramadan with our community is like playing zone defense. Like, even though you feel weak with Allah, seeing a guy next to you praying encourages you. You know, you feel good about it. You're even though you don't pray 5 times a day, you're standing at a tarawih that's like an hour and a half long, and you're doing it. Why? Because the guy next to you he's feeling it, right? But this Ramadan is forcing people's hands where, you know, we don't have that luxury. So we're literally one-on-one with God. And this is almost like you are forced to like understand who Allah is. You are forced to kind of this, like, you know, admit that relationship you have with him or the lack thereof, right? So I think that's one of the really interesting things about, number one, building a relationship with Allah, and number two, the situation that we're just all in right now, which is, you know, really, really interesting, I think.
I mean, like, you brought up so many great points. I think, like, where do we start? Where's a good point for us? Like, you know, like you said, like, you can't just hop in and go from 0 prayers to 5 prayers, right? Yeah. There's that part, but then, like, you know, some of us also as well, like, hey, yo, I'm gonna start tomorrow, and we put this crazy game plan, right? We go for 5, right? We say, I'm gonna make dua, I'm gonna read Quran, right? And then, like, we do it, we get so discouraged, and then we're like, yo, dude, what am I doing anyways, right? So, like, what's a good place to start?
Yeah, I think a good place to start, I'll kind of give just 2 small, easy points. Number one, I would always say, and this is something that our teachers always taught us, is be vulnerable. And what I mean by that is don't put your defenses up with Allah. You know, sometimes what we do with like new relationships that we're trying to build is we put defenses up because we don't want people to get to know us too easily. Like, we don't want to, like, we don't want to be like that easy to figure out, right? We're like, you know what, like, I'm cool, but like, you need to back up a little bit, right? I'm not gonna add you on Instagram just yet. And like, you know, and we put our kind of like our defensive mechanisms up, but with Allah, I think the number one goal is to make sure that we make ourselves vulnerable. And what I mean by making yourself vulnerable is really understanding that whatever you think you're hiding behind, you know, a veil or behind a curtain, Allah already knows, right? Allah already knows it. And it's actually you who's trying to get to know Allah, right? There's a very famous ayah that we all know. Right? Surah Al-Ma'un. The first ayah of Surah Al-Ma'un, Allah says, you know, he's talking to the Prophet, he's saying, you know, are you aware, have you seen the people who yukadhibu bid-din, who are in denial of the religion, right? And yukadhibu bid-din, actually, you know, denial also, like, kind of people who lie about the religion, right? And denial, by the way, comes in different stages and phases, right? Denial doesn't always mean, oh, I'm just rejecting it straight from the bat. Denial is also like, I don't want to even face it because the reality is too scary for me, right? So even like kind of owning up to your mistakes, right? Owning up to your faults, owning up to your past, kind of the skeletons in your closet, like your demons. It's a scary idea for a lot of young people. Like, I made so many mistakes in my past. How on earth can I ever make all of this up to Allah? You know, like we were mentioning, like, where do I even start, right? A lot of young people get discouraged from the beginning. You're like, man, how do I, like, dude, I lived 15 years of like doing like 2 rak'ah every day. Like, I got about 34,000 rak'ahs to make up. How do I do that in a year? And so, like, but the reality is, I mean, you have to start being vulnerable. You have to start being okay with being very, very okay with Allah knowing who you are. And that means knowing the good and the bad, right? Because I mean, not everyone's good or bad totally. And so, yeah, exactly. Like that person just said, don't be scared of the process. You know, understand that Allah knows who you are. And sometimes the way to actually open that window of a relationship is just to kind of admit it, right? Yeah, Allah, I know I've slipped up. I know I messed up. Yeah. I know I haven't been the most devout, the most dedicated. But yeah, Allah, I'm willing to speak to you about this, you know? And those are the moments where people start crying, man. Those are the moments where people start emotionally like getting really invested with Allah, because for the first time Allah is real. You know, I know that sounds kind of sacrilegious because they're like, oh, Allah's always real. But like for a lot of young people, like for the first time they vulnerably, emotionally open up, they feel Allah is real for the first time in their life. You know, and I think that's one of the biggest starts. And number two, and I'll just kind of like, this is my last point here, is, you know, being very, very grateful to Allah. Being extremely grateful to Allah. You know, Shaitan, you know, this is the Shaitan's like biggest plot here. I think a lot of people are like, you know, young people are like, man, Shaitan's biggest goal in life is to make me not listen to Drake. Like Shaitan just wants to delete my Spotify playlist. This is all he wants. Like, you know, like this is like, you know, we think that Shaitan's biggest goal is like to get us to eat that samosa before iftar time or listen to like, you know, Lupe on like whatever it is, like you know, but Shaitan's biggest goal in Surah Al-A'raf, he actually says this, وَلَا تَجِدُ أَكْثَرَهُمْ شَاكِرِينَ. You know, like, and you'll find most of them ungrateful to you. And that literally is his biggest goal. Like he wants everyone to not be grateful to Allah. And gratitude is a way that you acknowledge someone's presence, right? Like if you're grateful to your mother, then you acknowledge that your mother means something to you, right? You go up to her and thank her every day for something that she did for you. You acknowledge that relationship's real. The more you deny gratitude with a relationship, you don't even acknowledge that relationship's even a part of your life. So number one, I think, is, you know, being vulnerable. And number two is, you know, being extremely grateful for what you have. You know, I mean, I think gratitude is one of the biggest things in this life, I think. And a lot of people, you know, unfortunately start to realize those points of gratitude when they're a little older, right? When you're younger, you kind of just take everything for granted. You know, Sheikh Omar was saying, he's like, I wish I used my time a little bit more when I was younger. When you talk to an older person, I have a grandmother who's 87 years old, like she's fasting still to this day. I mean, like fasting, like, you know, fiqhi wise, not even incumbent upon her anymore, like her health wise, but like she's still doing it. Why? Because she's like, I just have to be grateful to Allah. I just have to be grateful to Allah, you know? So like, I think it's a very important point to remember.
I think for me, as we wrap up, I think for me, even like when it comes to the vulnerability, I can't speak today. The vulnerability, for me, fake crying gets me to real cry. I don't know, that's for me, right? I know it might be different for you guys, but for me, fake crying gets me to real crying. Is there one lesson you can give us that we can take away from your talk today? If you was like, hey, you know what, like you guys could start with this could help you get to, you know, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I think number one, man, I'll just be really candid, it's like off script completely. I just really, really dislike when we live in a comparative state in Islam, like meaning that like we compare ourselves to other people constantly. You know, I literally had a college student walk up to me last Ramadan, and he was going to a masjid for Taraweeh, and he came to me the night after it was like dua qunut, like the Imam was like bawling tears, mashallah, and like people next to him, Uncle Saab was like feeling it. And then he comes up to me the next day and he's like, dude, I didn't shed a tear. And he's like, am I just a bad Muslim? Like, do I just not feel anything? And I told him, I said, like, you, first and foremost, everyone's relationship with and how they express it is completely different, right? Like, just because somebody's crying next to you does not mean that, you know, they're doing Islam right and you're doing it wrong. I'll give a very short example. The first time I ever went to Umrah and I saw the Kaaba for the first time, I got super emotional. But my second year, I didn't shed a single tear. All I did was I smiled. It was like seeing an old friend again, you know? And this just proves that like, no one should compare emotions with other people, right? Just because the guy next to you is crying doesn't mean that like you're doing Islam wrong by not crying. You know, just because the person over there is making dua for like 20 minutes and you're making dua for 5 minutes doesn't mean that like you're doing Islam wrong. You know, so I think it's just really, really important to understand that and not live in a comparative society where we just constantly worry about, oh man, like what are they doing and what am I not doing? You know, and when we get into this comparative state, what happens is that you feel so behind in the game that you don't even want to start trying, right? Each Ramadan for me personally is like an own race. It's a race against myself from last year, not against other people. So that's kind of what I would give away, inshallah. Imam Suhaib's here, so I'm officially done, inshallah.
Yeah, I gotta say that was deep though. It's like seeing an old friend again. That kind of got me.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
And when it comes to that comparative state, Jazakallah khair, you know, Ustadh Safi actually is tuned in all the way from Texas. I know it's late for you. Jazakallah for your time. But, you know, one of the reasons we compare so much is when it comes to social media, all we do is compare. All we do is we make ourselves depressed and seeing what other people do. And just remember, like, social media isn't real life. It really isn't. Right, so that's a good step. Like if you feel like you're getting in these comparative states, you got to know yourself. I know, you know, Sheikh Suhaib talks about that. Like, you guys got to really know yourself. If it's not good for you, get off, right? So, Jazakallah for your time. You can stay on if you'd like as well, and interject throughout. And just so you guys know, our program, we're actually going to be moving to our next speaker, which I'm very excited about. But all of these panelists, we actually have a lineup of speakers throughout the whole night. We're doing raffles, giveaways, prizes. And for those of you guys that want to win prizes, you just have to text the right answer to the number. It's 786-373-6993. And you guys know I'm changing clothes throughout. So I just actually changed to another another outfit. Sheikh Suhaib, can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's great to finally virtually meet you for the first time.
MashaAllah, you're like kind of like appearing and disappearing all at once. It's like incredible.
It's just
I started reading Surah Al-Falaq, man. I didn't know what's going on. It's like, he's like coming in and out. I was like, I thought the Shayateen were tied up, and then I see like appearing, disappearing.
It was a scarf I was wearing. I was doing too much.
Outfits are changing.
Hassan, what's the trivia question from Ustadh Safi's segment?
Yeah. Let me give you guys that question right before we start with Sheikh Suhaib. That question, if you guys are ready, it's what ayah did we discuss today that is Shaitan's goal for humanity? Okay, let me say that again. What ayah did we discuss today that is Shaitan's goal for humanity? Okay, and the prize that we're actually giving away for this one is actually coming from, if I have it up, and I don't have it up, it's actually coming from, let's see if I get it for you guys real quick. It's coming from Imagination Emporium, and if I can pull it up here real quick, let me know if you guys can see it. Can you guys see it okay? I got their Instagram open.
We can see all your chats open. That's pretty nice.
You see our private text messages.
Oh my God. I'm not
like a WikiLeaks.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so it's called Imagination Emporium. They're actually giving away a Quran journal. You guys could check them out at imaginationemporium.com. They got a bunch of different stuff. They have gift cards, you know, they have decor, books, worship, Ramadan bundle specials. It's imaginationemporium.com, and you guys can find them on Instagram, imagination.emporium. They're giving away a Quran journal. So that question again is, what ayah did Ustadh Safi talk about? What ayah did we discuss today that is Shaitan's goal for humanity? You guys could text that answer to 786-373-6993. Jazakallah khair. All right, we are back. Sheikh Suhaib, do you want to go by Sheikh Suhaib or Imam Suhaib? I feel bad if I get it wrong.
Don't even worry, bro. I'm not about that life.
The show.
What matters is my actual name.
Okay, you know, one of the brothers that, since we're putting on this program, he keeps calling you Suhaib. And we're like, dude, it's Suhaib.
Is he over 60?
No, he's actually like 23.
Yeah, no, that's not acceptable, man. That's the Chacha Saab mistake, bro.
Subhanallah. So we appreciate it.
Is it you that's doing
No,
it? Or?
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I'm not going to say it was.
He got caught.
So tell me this, Imam Suhaib, where are you calling in from right now? Actually, I don't even know where you're at.
So I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. Like, I live in Brooklyn, New York right now, but I'm actually in the DC area.
Okay. So what time is it right there?
Hey.
3 a.m.?
It is actually 3:09 a.m. Yes, indeed.
So I think for your session, is it okay? I know we're kind of open. I know we have panelists on here. You guys can interject with some questions, but I kind of wanted to start out with some rapid fire questions for you. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. I'm sorry about the background, man. My computer's too old.
No, you're good. I like the books. You know, our Sheikh Shahid, he always has a bunch of books in the back, and I always question if he reads them or not, but he says he has. So
where's Sheikh Shahid? I don't even see him.
I think he's right. And for
Bottom
me,
left.
on the bottom right.
It's okay. Sister Samar didn't like the background that we worked on so hard.
No, that's not true. That's not true. My computer is old too. I got a cooler background coming. You'll see, inshallah.
Oh, snap.
Okay, are you guys ready for some rapid fire? I think this is good. I had to think about these ones. I'm ready. Okay, Imam Suhaib, you ready to go?
Yeah, I like your thobe. It's so fresh.
It's actually like a shirt. So.
But is it like a shawar kameez?
It's like a short shawar. Inshallah, I'm gonna start selling them.
Is that the Afghan flex?
No, man, this is the Hassan Ilyas flex, man. I don't know.
I mean, because we almost had the same exact outfit on.
You look better though.
I mean, I have to. It's the same thing you got on, bro. All right, let's do this.
Okay,
let's
so
do it before I have to leave for Suhoor.
Okay, you have to answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay?
Like the first thing.
Yeah, so I'll give you like questions. It'll be like this, or like what's your favorite this, or like this, and then why, kind of thing.
Are you gonna ask me like what's my favorite basketball team?
I already know it's the Lakers, but you don't have to. Don't worry.
Right.
Okay, here we go. Bismillah. Okay, first question: biryani or American chicken and rice?
American chicken and rice.
Oh man, astaghfirullah. All right, favorite surah and why?
An'am.
Why?
Because Surah An'am has 5 components: Tawheed, character, dawah, challenges, and then leadership.
Allah.
هو الذي جعلكم خلائف في الأرض. The end, the beginning, alhamdulillah. So in between that, Tawheed and leadership is everything you need to work on.
Okay, who is your role model?
At this moment, I think role models change.
Yeah.
Right. So at this moment in time, who's my father-in-law?
Okay.
Smart answer.
Hopefully he's hearing.
You young brothers, write that down. Write that one down. That's golden.
Okay. Biggest pet peeve.
People who don't do what they say they're gonna do when they like really raise your expectations. I hate that.
Man.
I hate that like I hate the Lakers. Because that's what the Lakers do every year.
Alhamdulillah.
Unlike the Celtics. Yes.
That was a good one. Okay. What's a secret talent you have that not too many people know about?
I can produce music.
That actually leads me to my next question. Are you still able to freestyle rap?
I wasn't a freestyler. I was a producer.
That was a trick question. I was going to see if you could freestyle for us, but it's okay. Okay. What's the biggest lesson you've learned in your life?
That life is a process. Everything that you want to do, it's a process. It's not an event. People go for events and they get spent and then they get bent. See that? See that? And then all hell breaks loose instead of seeing it as a process.
When you say process, I know for me, like one of the biggest lessons that kind of goes with that is one of my first mentors had told me, he says, success will rob you. If you think of life as always getting to that next spot, you're going to forget about the process or the journey. Right. And I remember I was going for this big award. When I got it, I was like, man, this is whack. Right. Like, what happened? He's like, oh, like, did you forget about like how you got there? It's like the joy, the happiness is actually in the journey, in the process of doing things, not just something.
Ask anyone who memorized the Quran how they memorized the Quran. They said they forgot it. That's what made us memorize it better, is we kept forgetting it. Right. And then we led Taraweeh. And then we led Taraweeh. We're like, oh, okay. Let me go to another qira'at. Right. So there's this like process of failure that we should appreciate. But people tend to want to, like in Azhar, when we wear the turban, the Azhari turban, which is so much more fresher than Deoband. When we wear that turban, right? That turban, when students put it on, they try to put it on right. I don't know what turban, that's that straight Slauson Avenue turban right there, boy. But when we put on that turban, you see the first year students, they always try to put it on and make it look like Instagram worthy, right? And it never works. So my teacher was like, actually you have to put it on and it's wrinkly and it doesn't look nice, and you work with it. And then by the end, it's solid. So he's like, that's hakada hayat dunya. Like that's life. The turban is life. That process of having to start with something that's not quite perfect and working it over time. Yeah. Can you do that with that hat? Can you make that hat like start out not looking clean and then?
I can't. So, you know, I've been noticing on your, for those of you guys that don't follow Imam Suhaib on Instagram, it's suhaib.webb, I believe, right? And I've seen you've been answering, you've been doing a lot of Q&As since COVID, since the quarantine. You've been doing a lot more Q&As. Have you been seeing like a pattern of what kind of questions have been coming from the youth?
No, every Ramadan though I do Q&A, right? Okay. So every Ramadan, that was the way of the setup was to serve the Ummah in Ramadan until the last 10 days. So in Ramadan, it's always, you know, amped up. But with COVID, of course, people are home, right? And people are scared. People have, from New York, you know, the first 3 weeks of it, every week it was people who died, uncles who died, young people who died. So there was a blunt trauma. Today, I talked to a sister that used to work with me in Boston who was in the intensive care unit she went in on April 8th. She came out on May 9th. She woke up on May 6th. They asked her, what day is it? She said, it's like April 10th. They're like, nah, it's May 6th. And she says, people put the Quran in, dang, that's a big bottle, bro. People put the Quran in her room. And she says, the only thing I remember in a coma was the Quran. I could hear the Quran. So I think COVID brought a sense of blunt trauma to people's life that hasn't been there before.
Yeah,
you know, we got to be there for them, man.
You know, like you saying that, you know, like Brother Aasim, can you hear me okay? So we actually, we had a younger brother actually pass away today in his sleep from one of our communities.
Yeah, Asadullah, I mean, he was one of our youth at the ICSD NEXTGEN, and he just didn't wake up. He's about 18 years old, graduated high school, and subhanAllah, the youth are definitely mourning. It's definitely a reminder that this world is not the object. It's the most uncertain thing that we all have in common.
SubhanAllah, man. May Allah make it easy for him and his family.
I mean,
Imam Suhaib, so our topic tonight, it kind of goes with that. It's like what really matters, right? We have youth from all around the nation on here tonight, trying to kind of figure out what's been going on. Like, do you see things that are maybe some things that we should be focusing on right now? Because this whole situation is kind of giving us a lot of perspective that maybe we weren't ready for.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to project what should be important for others. Like, I think maybe when I was younger, I would have an answer. When I was younger, I would have spoken on behalf of everybody else. But I think as you get older, man, you're careful who you speak on behalf of. So I think in my own perspective, my daughter was born a year ago in Ramadan, born into the ICU as a baby. And now today just started walking. You can see it on my Instagram. And you know, I think what's important for me is making sure that I protect my family, right? And take care of my family. So I think what we can say is what's important to you is what's intrinsic to your value. And oftentimes we see people have, in my own life, a circle of influence and a circle of concern. We tend to invert that and we focus on a circle of concern. Like, I'm worried about all these things that I can't really impact. And I use that, Shaitan uses that. Ibn Qiyam says one of the goals of Shaitan is to make you choose a lesser of two goods. And sometimes to make you choose a permissible act that takes you away from something which may even be like mandub, recommended. So I've noticed in my life and in the life of others that most people have it inverted. Their passion is in what they cannot influence. And that's a trick of the nafs. So I'm all invested and upset about something I have no impact on, and I'm neglecting what I can truly impact. So I try to encourage people to ask themselves, like when people say, oh, we want to get married. Okay, do you know how to make each other feel valued? No. Do you even know what makes you feel valued? No. Then how are you going to be in a relationship? So people haven't even taken the time, you said it earlier, to really know themselves and to know what's important to them. So I like to ask people, like, list 5 things that are like intrinsic to who you really are. What is intrinsic to your life? After worship and Allah, because everybody says, oh, Allah and worship, that's already there. But in your space, what is intrinsic to who you really are? You should know that, because then you know who you are, right? And most people tend to, when they do that, they're like, man, I'm not even focusing on these things, man. I'm focusing on, like, is there water on Pluto? Like, that's an area of concern, but you can't influence that. What can you directly influence?
So writing down 5 questions, right, that are important to us.
Writing down 5 things that are intrinsic to what makes you feel valued.
To what makes us feel valued. What's important.
Yeah, because if I don't value me, I can't. Like right now, I just saw my wife making suhoor, right? I said, baby, you fine when you make suhoor. I wrote that. I'm gonna tell you, I wrote that to my wife, right? I said, man, you fine when you make suhoor. Why? Because I love my wife. I value my wife, but also I'm happy to see, because she hasn't been able to fast the whole month. Right? So it's like, I'm not a great husband or nothing, but I'm just saying, like, that's how you give value, right? I know that's gonna make her feel better. Because if I don't know what makes me feel valued, I can't be a sharer, because I'm still trying to find who I am. So I'm sucking I'm narcissistic. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Oh, people have to make me feel like, when people say, I'm gonna get married, so this guy can make me understand who I am. That's a disaster waiting to happen. well, I want to marry this girl because she ain't gonna make nothing, bro. You need to be made before you walk into that situation. If you don't know yourself, then how are you gonna be able to like give value to people? See what I'm trying to say? So most of the time, and I'll give a great example of this at NYU where I teach. I ask a group of highly educated college students, do you think Allah loves you? None of them raise their hand. None of them raise their hand. You know why? Because they don't value themselves. Why do we find people that put up with abuse? Why do people put up with abuse on Instagram? People send me questions. Is it okay if my father slaps him in my face? Is it okay if my wife or husband is physically or emotionally or sexually assaulting me? Why do people put up with that? Number one is it's terrifying, it's traumatic, and it's horrible. But then also like, are they able to understand like as a personal value, people should not be hurting me? And then you couple it with religiously, you have to be patient and take it. No, you don't. No, you don't, right? So we have to learn to value ourselves. I think the ummah doesn't value itself. Why do we put up with dictators? Because we don't value ourselves. We're happy just to have Hosni Mubarak. We're happy just to have Modi. We're happy just to, like, we're happy to have, like, Modi, sorry, it's the wrong country. Like, are we happy to have whoever? Like, we should want the best. We're Muslims, man. We want the best. So that issue of value is crucial.
You know, just like you said, like one thing I see from you, though I majority I follow you on social media. You come off as
a guy that just wrote that really bad comment right now. Is that you? What's your name? What's your name, bro?
My name's Hassan. No, I didn't.
Hassan Shaykh?
No, that's not me. That's not me.
What's your last name, bro?
Ilyas.
Hassan Ilyas?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm about to block you, bro. No. Oh, bro, what are you right? Wait, what is this?
Yeah. Must have.
Gora Sahib, something. Gora Sahib? What's Gora Sahib mean?
So that's a white guy. But I didn't say that.
Bro. Appreciate that. Identity politics on Instagram with you.
But if you want to follow me, you can. It's Hassan Ilyas at Hassan Ilyas.
Oh man,
don't follow him.
My hand's numb right now, bro.
Don't follow him.
No,
goal is to leave him at 899, and that's it.
No, what's your Instagram, man? What's your Instagram, bro?
It's HASSAN and then ILYAS. You guys can all do it. It's fun. It's good content.
Now you with a black T-shirt looking like this?
Oh yeah, that's me. That's good.
Okay, I just followed you, bro.
Allah.
Okay.
Wow.
All right, guys, I'm gonna log out now. So,
why do we settle for less? Like, what is it about us as a community, or even on an individual level, that we end up settling for less? Is it just that we don't care enough, or that I just don't have enough confidence, maybe?
Well, do our communities breed confidence, right? Like, I mean, I want to just say, God bless your ASL interpreter, man. You know, I mean, imagine how much value you're bringing to people that could not be part of this program tonight. So your community, that's beautiful, man. Your community is, you have a woman on the forum with us, right? Those are things, you have a convert, right? Those are things that are done on purpose to value people. You have every race almost here, almost every race, right? So that tells me that, and I love Garden Grove. I love that place, man. That's Muzammil's house, baby. That's the house Muzammil built, mashallah. But what I'm trying to say is, like, there is a determination in how you did your programming so that people feel valued tonight. You know how many parents have come to me with children that can't hear, man? And you can't bring them to the mosque? Like, you know what it's like to try to parent and you can't ever bring a child with autism or any type of challenge to the masjid? And then people always ask you, where's your kids? Where's your kids? Where's your kids? So how do we bring value to those people? That's what prophecy is about. So even the community, oftentimes, we don't even have strategic entry points. This is the only Qiyam I see across the country where there's not an uncle, no offense, and I don't believe in this ageism nonsense, because some young people are crazier than uncles, where you guys are doing it. Like, that means there's value, right? How do we give that value? How do we love? Muslim love is an act of spiritual prophetic resistance in the face of Islamophobia and a post-colonial world that has its foot on the Muslim world's neck. We have to frame love as a moral obligation for our own healing. So love is a value. If you love somebody, you're gonna bring them in on the program. You're gonna make sure that their demographic is represented.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's deep.
That's deep. Jazakallah khair, Shath.
That's super deep. So what I was saying was like one of the reasons I follow your account is because it's actually helped me become more confident in my own faith. Like, is there some tips that you could maybe give us where we can start becoming more confident Muslims? I know you said it might come from our community, maybe coming from who we follow, maybe coming from our sheikhs. How can we become more confident Muslims?
But sometimes sheikhs amplify our insecurities. When they tell you, like, who do you think you are? How dare you talk to me? I'm the greatest sheikh since Vanilla Sheikh, right? I have all these hijazas. I studied overseas. You know who I am? My beard is this long. These are insecure people, right? Insecure people should not be in religious vocation. Insecure people should not be in religious vocation. Insecure people should not be in religious vocation. It should be a condition, right? I think number one is I had good parents. You know, my mother in particular, God bless her. My father wasn't really around, but my mother, man, my mother was not putting up with no mama boy stuff, bro. It wasn't about, when I was 5 years old, she took me to Equal Rights Amendment March. And she was like, if you ever hit a woman, I'll kill you. I was like, damn. Other kids are getting Happy Meals. My mom is a white woman from Oklahoma threatening to kill me, right? And then I had good mentors when I became Muslim. I had good teachers who encouraged me, right? Who checked me when I needed to be checked, got in me, they got in me, right? But they also created, and you have to understand, there was a group of us who were all Bloods who converted at the same time in Oklahoma. Inglewood family, IFG, Pomona 456, Pyru, all from California. We all converted together. So we all supported one another, man. We loved each other out of kufr, right? So I was lucky to have, until this day, those brothers will call me and be like, you need to check yourself. This is wrong. Or, hey, that was good, mashallah. Like the other day I was reading in Qiraat al-Nafi'. One of the OG Bloods, who's Muslim now, called me and was like, man, I'm so happy to see you reading Riwayat Warsh al-Nafi'. So we still, like, we never had jealousy, bro. Because we lived in the world together. We did bad together. Yeah. So like, I think also having a strong supporting cast, that's the importance of youth groups, not falling into cliques and who has the money and where you're from and why would you bring that into a youth group? A youth group needs, if you really want to know if your youth group is successful, can you make everyone in that sphere feel valued to a certain degree? That should be the challenge of any mosque, right? How do we bring value to people?
What you said right there, I'm kind of mind blown, but I'm also reminiscing or thinking about what I talked to or a conversation I had with Shaykh Muslim. He reached out when he heard about our young brother Asadullah that passed away. Just gave me some tips on how to be there for my youth when they need someone to talk to. And subhanAllah, we were talking a little bit about creating that safe space in the youth group. And Shaykh, I'd ask you, because you kind of hinted towards it, is, being there for them and letting them know that they can trust us as youth directors, as Imam, as Shaykh, as Ustadh. A lot of times what I've noticed is amongst the youth, they'll learn to trust us. They'll be cool in those one-on-ones. But then when we sit in the youth group together with the other youth, there'll be comments like, oh, the snitch, or haters, or I can't trust all these guys. And that's when it's like kind of heartbreaking, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I understand we may have to work with each person on an individual level.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm not.
But numbers, but that's difficult with numbers, right? Like for every community, we have one youth director and 300 youth that come to Jum'ah, but then 30 that come to youth group, for example, right?
Right, and so what you're talking about is ministry, right? We're not even talking about imamate. We're talking about ministry. Yeah. And Muslims don't like the word ministry because it's associated with like Christianity and other things. But a community of your size, okay, you should have at least 2 female youth leaders and 2 male youth leaders. And then you need to have a guidance counselor. You know how many young people cut themselves, man, in LA? You know how many kids have everything together in life and they still self-harm? I had a sister one time, man, who bled out, contacted me on Instagram. The next day, her brother contacted me and said she died. Right? So the dunya is a beast. The dunya will break you into a million pieces, even though you have everything you want. Right? Where wallahu yad'u ila daris salam. Allah, Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam. Right? So how do we become extensions of this? So youth workers, imams, shaykh. When I was in Boston, man, we had a principle. Youth don't need an appointment time. Just come to the office, man.
That's deep.
You don't, because you don't want people to know your business.
Yeah. Fuck.
Imagine if the aunties hear like, oh, subhanallah, Hassan just made an appointment with the Imam Sahib and he's coming to, or like, mashallah, what a duh, you know, he put a time with the Shaykh. People are gonna start talking. So you create an environment where it just come through.
Also, you know, with youth,
there's
big
no
thing,
stigma.
Sorry.
No,
Also
you
with
good, don't worry.
Also with youth, a big thing is like that expectation, right? Like even if I make an appointment, I have to show up. You know what I mean? And if they do happen to flake, then it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know what they're going through.
Yeah, they got life. They might not have transportation. They may have issues at home, right? So you're not creating a bar that automatically pushes them away. But I think like it's a community of your size, right? There should be, and I know that passion's there. Like I know you have good leadership, right? But there has to be like, y'all are a mega church. Like that's how it should be framed. It's a mega church. Okay, let's go look at a mega church outside of the kufr and the dalala and the idolatry of worshiping a man. Outside of all that, what is some of the governmental structures that these mega churches are doing? Right? Or what is some of the operational structures that they put in place where they're serving their kids, man. They're serving young people. And they have like people that are assigned. When I converted, they had a group of brothers assigned to deal with people like me. And that came out of the Black community because they came out of the Nation of Islam. They're very organized and they have everything kind of together. They knew how to take someone from hell and bring them to heaven, right? We don't think deeply about what is it, like how do you measure different levels of youth religiosity? Not to judge people, but to make sure like they're in their space, they feel comfortable in that space. One man's tahajjud might be another man's fard. You know what I mean? Like people are in different places. One girl's trip to the masjid be the equivalent of another sister who's like leading the MSA. We have to appreciate people are in different places. When people ask the Prophet, Ayu amal al-afdal, the answer is always different. What's the best thing I can do? The answer is never the same because he knows his people. So I mean, you're in LA, man. Like I'm in New York. New York is a beast too. Like so many Muslims in New York, kids, so many youth in New York, all over the place. Right? Same thing in LA. LA is just spread out and has a horrible basketball team like New York. So the ability to kind of like, you know, mentor them and minister to them is a unique challenge, man. Yeah, one guy dealing with 300 kids. Allahu Akbar. Woo.
Yes, well, you know, I was talking to, I don't know if it was you, Sister Summer, but someone from the Corona Instagram had messaged me of how like we found success. I'm in San Diego at Sheikh Abdul Jalil's masjid, and Sheikh Abdul Jalil and Sheikh Taha, and they gave me like full autonomy, you know, to design the youth group how I wanted. And through trial and error, I found that giving the youth some ownership of their youth group is what brought us success. So we didn't go into like board members and all that, but we made like youth ambassadors, and we changed the youth ambassador every year. And they have a lot of decision-making power with shura from the mentors on what events are going to take place, who the speakers are going to be, you know, because when they feel like they own the youth group or they own the event, then they're going to want to show up. They're going to want their friends to show up rather than, you know, just the Amor, the Cha-Cha-Ji, because to them, even I'm uncle age, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, I mean, you're not quite uncle age, but you know.
Oh, he is. He looks really young, but I did some around. I did some.
Honestly, we're having a hard time keeping up with the lingo of the youth, so we totally feel like aunties and uncles just from that. There's some words out there that are way over our heads.
Our viewer numbers is gonna drop if we keep talking like this.
Oh, really? Okay. Well.
Also, I know your time is short. I know you are in DC. What's one takeaway you can give us where, I don't know, there was already so many takeaways, but if you could sum up your session.
Like how we took that 2008 championship from you?
Oh man, to be honest,
yeah.
I don't care about basketball. I'm just gonna be honest. I don't even own a TV.
He's a Clippers fan.
That's why you gotta be, you know, in touch with the youth, man. See.
Oh no. I'll like look. I'll research it real quick. I know some names and stuff. I know LeBron.
What team does LeBron James play for?
The Lakers.
LeBron James' middle name.
Malcolm. I don't know. Look, I know this. I know that 6ix9ine
Oh my
It's
God.
not Fir'aun, I'll tell you that.
Oh my God.
6ix9ine just got out of jail, and he broke the Instagram live record with like what 19 million viewers. It was the craziest thing ever. And like I know a lot of the youth listen to music, so
I thought we were in Ramadan. Looks like people aren't observing Ramadan.
randomly, it's a random thing.
Right.
So
You know, his
Shahid,
name is actually Daniel Hernandez, and we have an imam named Daniel Hernandez. So we're like,
Yeah,
Imam
yeah.
Daniel Hernandez will be giving a speech, and people are like, oh my God, he took Shahada. Like, he became an imam. We're like, no, it's not the same Daniel Hernandez.
Imam Daniel in Houston, mashallah.
Yeah, he's an amazing. You guys should invite him, man. He's awesome.
Guy.
He's one of our
Yeah.
teachers in Swiss, man. We love him, man.
Oh, mashallah.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about Swiss? I see it a lot. Like, is this something that our youth could plug into as well?
Yeah, for sure. Like we just finished. So when COVID started out, we started online classes for kids from 11 to 20. We had 3,000 kids enrolled. And we had about 400 show up, of course. But from 11 to 13, 13 to 16, 16 to 18, I taught a course. Imam Daniel taught a course. Hassan taught a course. Kareem Sayyid taught a course. So we had like these programs for young people. But Swiss is like an on-demand kind of like a Muslim madrasa meets Netflix. You know, so you have on-demand courses that people can follow that are organized with a curriculum, test, exams if they want to test exams. If not, they can just binge the Noor. Binge the Noor. That's our slogan, right? Binge the Noor. But alhamdulillah, they can go to suhaibweb.com. It's just $10 a month, man. You know, it's not. We'll never raise the price. We also do one-on-one teaching for people who advance, like in tajweed, ijazat, and so on and so forth. But you know, they got to work.
Mashallah.
So alhamdulillah, we have over 1,000. You know,
I'd say The Essentials of Islamic Faith is a book that I think every youth group should use. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it says like it's for parents or something.
Yeah.
And I bought it for to read to my kids, but it's very well written, very well orated for a youth group, very digestible.
Yeah, that book, Essentials of Islamic Faith, we just did that course with 13 to 16, and then 16 to 18, and 11 to 13. And then we got their feedback, and we're going to edit the book based on what they said was like what they wanted more of.
Nice.
So yeah, Mariam Amir teaches with us. Amina Darwish,
Oh, nice.
they're all going to be teaching courses, inshallah. So just make dua, but we need people to sign up. $10 a month.
Mashallah.
3 cappuccinos, man.
For sure. If you could follow us at ICSD NEXTGEN, inshallah, we'll.
It's only one follow.
ICSD Islamic Center San Diego, NEXTGEN. Inshallah, we'll get.
San Diego?
No, hey,
Yeah, I'm in San Diego now. I used to be in LA back in the day.
Oh
Most
man.
let me be for real. So like two of the most poppin' youth group accounts is ICSD NEXTGEN and MYG ISOC. We got like, we always go back and forth, but it's like, you know, it's really funny, and it's just, Sheikh Shah's laughing right now.
We post more than just flyers, right, Hassan?
Yeah, we do more than flyers, man. We do questions, we do videos. It's just a good time for the youth.
We're gonna be promoting Swiss.
Yeah, man, let's do it, man.
No, I gotta check it out, man. $10 a month. That's dope, mashallah.
That's
Hey, we
cheaper
have
than
100
Disney Plus.
Inshallah,
We have
yeah,
around 100, and we have around 100 people on scholarship. We have a sister who converted from Gujarat to
Mashallah.
India, man.
mashallah,
During the recent drama, man.
mashallah.
Alhamdulillah. So, you know, we're trying to.
Who wants to add?
It's really dope that you ask the youth their feedback, man. I always remind people, like Ibrahim alayhi salam. I kind of always take it back to Ibrahim alayhi salam when I think of shura with the youth, you know, subhanAllah. How do you take that shura from the youth?
Why don't we ask Sister Summer? Sister Summer, how do you take shura from the youth?
So I sit them down and I try to make it like a small group or one-on-one, you know, like max talk to like 3 at a time.
MashaAllah.
And I just ask them like open-ended, like they're the experts on it and that I don't know anything. So I found that the more I'm quiet and the more I sound very interested in what they're saying, they speak up and they have a lot to say and they have a lot to elaborate on. They're just
How do you get them talking? How do you get them talking?
I don't know. I think they have to feel the love first. If they don't feel the love, they don't feel like they're being heard, they're not gonna want to talk. They're not gonna feel like why does what I have to say even matter? So there's a whole relationship that has to be built, and it doesn't have to take much. It can happen in just a matter of minutes, you know, just from meeting once or twice. But you know, once we can connect with their hearts, we have them hooked. and genuinely, and they want to talk. And you know, even if I were to not make shura with them, they'll come and tell me their ideas, like they'll volunteer it.
Nice.
And I hope that just shows that they feel safe and they feel
MashaAllah.
that they have a chance to speak up.
So you got to bring them value before they will give you value, right?
Yeah,
You got to
for sure.
set the
And
table.
safety and just feeling cared about. And
So there's something I would recommend everyone check out called Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. You can type it even in the chat thing. Maslow, M-A-S-L-O-W, his hierarchy of needs. He theorizes that there has to be a certain set of essential security things in place before someone gives you, before someone will share. Right. So thank you, Samar. That was dope.
So Sheikh, just to Sister Summer's point, Sister Summer, when the youth, and this is to all the masajid out there, when the youth do end up talking, the masjid boards do not listen, man. From my experience, you know, and I've worked with a lot of masjid around LA and now in San Diego, and it's like, yeah, it's all about the youth. Youth, tell us what you want. Then what the youth want never really happens.
There's got to be a
facility. The youth are like, well, they're not gonna. They hear me, but they're not listening, so I'm not gonna talk.
Well, there's two or three sides to that. Wow, he just changed clothes again. It's very unique. Wow, that's like a letter jacket or something.
I gotta do it. I gotta do it in the name of this one, bro.
Bro, you look like the guy from Silicon Valley, dude.
Wait, who's that guy? Who's the guy from Silicon Valley?
Yeah, mashallah, man. That is such an incredible transformation. And now you have no arms, which makes it even more frightening.
I lean back a little bit too much sometimes.
Hey, you got to lean back though. So I think there has to be some kind of a go-between sometimes between young people and then the older people. Old people also have a lot to offer, and they actually bring a lot of vitality too. We're not a community that believes in like old are not cool, young are cool. Like that's a material construction in the corporate funded America that wants us to always desire to be young.
That's deep.
Right? Whereas youth have been commodified. Like the idea of youth in a capital system is commodified. So you don't find no youth buying creams to look old. Right? Like it's crazy, right? When you think about it. So that's not how we look at the world. Like that's not how we see things. Like so there's also like old people that can be great allies to young people, man. We don't believe in ageism. This construction of ageism, right? And I'll be honest with you, I've seen some young people that are so irrationally out there that it's old people that you sometimes may turn to that kind of calm them down, say like, bro, chill. So I think that having a good go-between, always say el-kubrida, the bridge, there has to be a bridge between both. And then also young people, sometimes you got to show them, like sometimes young people don't deliver, bro. Right, you got to deliver, man. If you got an old person that's writing a $500,000 check a year to a nonprofit, and you got a young guy that never shows up when he says he's going to show up, what are you gonna do, man? Right? I mean, it's just how it is. So I think there has to be kind of a sense of responsibility and mutual kind of effort, right?
Yeah. A viewer asked, what was the name of the book again? I mean, I could say it, but I'd like you to say it, please.
I think it's in the chat, Essentials of Islamic Faith, and then enrollment at Swiss is at suhaibweb.com, the old website. Shameless plug. Do you guys have the like, you know, the alarm? I mean, the fire alarm, or something cool it said?
Not for you.
Oh man, come on.
Cool. I'm sorry.
Shameless plugs are okay. Inshallah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, y'all. Hey, I gotta get to Zuhair, man.
What's for Zuhair?
Appreciate your time.
This non-GMO, fully date protein bar.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
Mom, so one of the reasons I have this on, I know that you're leaving. We're actually doing another giveaway. If you guys can text in the answer for this one, the number to text is 786-373-6993. This is from Imam Suhaib's talk. Please text in the right response. What is his current favorite surah right now? And one of the reasons why I'm wearing this on my head right now is
Shahid Ali is wrong.
So number one, that's his website. So hey,
that's Jareer Bookstore. You see that? That's Orange County.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, our giveaway for this next one is actually from Kanafa Queens. She always does like this tiara stuff. I didn't have a tiara, but I had this like king thing. So like, Brother Aasim was saying like Burger King, but
Hey man, why don't you go back to that previous website though? You know what I'm
oh,
saying?
yeah, I love that. You can subscribe.
Yeah. Ooh,
Previous
fire.
classes, scholarships. I love that. That's so good. By the way, can you tell us a little bit about? I shared this video that you did the other day about the rahmah, like not. You don't have to share. I know you said you gotta go, but about not denying Allah's rahmah, right?
I'm gonna let Shahid Ali take that over, man. Shahid Ali is in the building. Shahid Ali is in the building. MashaAllah. You guys are lucky to have Shahid Ali and his wife, man. Just let me say, even though I failed him on writing the thing for the book, Allah forgive me. But Shahid Ali is a special guy, man. MashaAllah. And I hope people are able to take advantage of his presence. He's a great guy, MashaAllah. And by the way, Kanafa Queens is amazing too, man.
Yeah, they're legit. So they're actually sponsoring this one, so you guys could actually win some kanafa. You guys text the right answer, and I think someone did. I'm gonna say the last 4 digits of your number, and those last 4 digits are 5833. Actually, that was for Ustadh Safi's question, not for Imam Suhaib. But yeah, free kanafa. Imam Suhaib, Jazakallah khair so much for joining us tonight. It was an honor. I had a great time. I almost dropped a tear, but I didn't. But it was still super duper good.
You almost dropped a tear?
I was really, really close. I got to drink a little bit more water for my.
Are you an emotional type guy?
Man, hit or miss, but I think I got this stuck in my beard, actually. Give me a sec.
Just leave it like that. Leave it like that.
Oh.
All right. Well, on that note, it's been a pleasure, and I really just want to give my warmest, greetings to everybody, and I appreciate everybody. I'm sorry I wasn't there in person. We were planning on doing something really big. Shahid had the cake ready, but unfortunately, it just couldn't happen. So, much love to you guys on the West Coast. Alhamdulillah, and please stay safe.
No,
my pleasure. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
One of the beautiful things about this session, guys, is that, normally I know some of us are like, man, we can't meet. One of the great things is having a virtual Qiyam, a virtual talk show, is we have youth groups and massages coming together from around the nation. Like I said, we have Illinois. We had Imam Suhaib just coming from DC. We have interpreters in Chicago, in Virginia, right? We have Texas. We have California. Like, we wouldn't be able to experience this if it wasn't for COVID, right? So there is some positives in this, right? If you really think about it, big time positives. This jacket is super hot, but in the name of Allah, I am a trooper, and I'm gonna just push through. So you guys already know, like, I want to let you guys know the winner for the Kanafa Queens. If you guys don't know Kanafa Queens, they do these like Kanafa cupcakes as well, which I think are like super cool. The owner, she's super duper funny too. But I would follow her. It's Kanafa Queens. If you guys like Kanafa, it's the place to go. And we have the winner. The last 4 digits of their phone number. A few of the shuyukh got mad at me because they're like, yo, don't give out people's numbers. I used to give out my mom's phone number every program that I did. And I was actually going to do it for this one. I was like, you know what? My mom almost beat me up last time. So I'm going to pass on this one.
Is that what you meant by the Baba's number, the Baba's digits thing?
We'll talk about that one.
Don't go there?
We'll go there, inshallah. But the winner for the Kanafa Queens, the last 4 digits of that number, it's 8441. Congratulations. You're going to have to work out after you eat it, but it's really good. Yeah, I'm excited. So guys, we're going to keep the program moving on. If you guys need to stand up or sit down or do some push-ups or drink some water, we're going strong right now. I think our attendees, like, mad props. I know, like, when we planned this, Brother Aasim actually hit us up and he's like, yo, we got to do something collaborative. And, after a few weeks of planning, we came up with this. And we're like, man, we're not sure, like, how many people are going to stick. I already knew you guys were going to be awake, like, all night anyway. So, like, I'm enjoying myself right now. I'm having such a good time. I don't know about you guys, but I am. So let's move on to our next speaker, which I'm very excited about. And I also got some heat about, it's a long story. Maybe I'll go into it when I start speaking. But I want to read her bio, actually, because it's kind of cool because I learned a little bit. So I wanted to introduce Sister Samar. Ustadh Samar. She's actually a nutritionist, a certified professional life coach, and a community volunteer. She's actually reigning from the Masjid of Corona. She's a volunteer mentor, volunteer coach over there. She received her Bachelor's of Science in Food and Nutrition from Cal Poly Pomona, post-bachelor's certified as a certified dietary manager. Man, if you saw my diet, you'd probably want to fix it. I'm joking. I got a pretty good diet. She's currently pursuing her master's degree in human nutrition and functional medicine. She aspires for a degree in Islamic studies. Sister Samar, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can. Really excited to have you on. I want to tell you I don't know if it's a funny story, but like, so I posted the flyer, right? I posted the flyer and they're like, I got a comment from someone. They're like, yo, like, where's the female representation? There's so many, guys on this. And I was like, I mean, I tried, like, I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know what to say to them, but it's an honor to have you on here.
It's an honor to be here. Jazakallah khairan. By the way, we give you 1,000,000 points for like, going through all the outfit changes and trying to say all those difficult words. I have a number of difficult words too. I'm just not brave enough to put myself on the spot publicly. So Jazakallah khairan for taking the heat, on our behalf and letting us roast you and stuff. You definitely get an A for effort, and never mind the 2 F's in the word.
Oh yeah, there's 2 F's in that word.
There's no A, but we're gonna pretend like there's an A for effort.
I'm not, honestly, like when it comes to grammar and English, I'm not the best. So for those that don't know you, Sister Samar, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're coming from Corona. What's something that, I know you've been working with the youth. There's a funny story I kind of want to bring up that I kind of want you to share as well. How long have you been working with the youth in Corona for?
I want to say a little over 2 years.
It's not the Corona we're talking about. It's Corona, California, not Corona COVID.
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
Man, this COVID thing is putting my city on the map, but we're still going to be happy about it, inshallah. So yeah, I've been a youth mentor at the Corona Masjid for about 2 years. Before that, I was a youth mentor at the Islamic Institute of Orange County in Anaheim. And I don't know, I think I've been loving working with the youth and doing that since I was a youth. Like since I was in high school, I used to do things. So I've been in SoCal for like 10 years, but before this, before here, I used to live in North Carolina for a bit. Before that, I grew up in Houston, Texas. So I have a Texas side to me. And before that, I was born in Ohio. So I've been around, and I'll be happy to say that SoCal is where it's at. Alhamdulillah.
I could actually tell that you had a Texas accent.
Really?
No, just joking.
Okay.
I would say this, since we kind of got to plan this program, you've had some great input, and one thing that has shined through your character is that you really will do whatever it takes to connect with your youth. And I kind of want to bring this up. So I want to show this. So I was actually talking to Sister Samar about hey, what are some things that you've done with the youth before? And she always has stories about connecting with them. So I want to, let me see if I could share my screen real quick. This is really, by the way, guys, I think this is hilarious. You guys may not think this is hilarious. I think it's hilarious. So Sister Samar was actually telling me about this trip. So you could kind of explain a little bit better than me, but she actually took a group of youth group girls from the Corona Masjid to a 2-day trip in San Diego. And it was an Al-Maghrib Institute Ilm class about Malcolm X. Umar Suleiman did it. And they explored San Diego. Here's some pictures. But Sister Samar, can you kind of talk about what happened on that trip?
Oh, it was beautiful. So the girls did not know each other. We had a couple sets of sisters, but other than that, they were total strangers. So before we were even about to get on the van, we rented this van and I was driving it. It was so much fun. Before we even got on there, they told me later that they were having second thoughts. They didn't want to go. They wanted to leave. They were like, oh, this is so lame. Anyways, after the whole thing was over, they were so close. They felt like they were sisters, and they're still like that, mashallah, to this day. And whenever we got a chance to do activities together, that was the beautiful thing that came out of it. But specifically, one of the most hilarious things that happened from that trip was a lesson for me to be very careful. In general, we should kind of think before we talk, think before we act, run things through a certain number of filters before we, let them out, whether it's in speech or actions. And I try to do that. I had a little slip up though, and in doing that. So before our trip, I thought, I would love to have a way. We're gonna take a lot of group photos. So I was like, let me think of a way to make our group photos so memorable and so special. Maybe we should think of a special, I don't know, a group formation or a group pose or a hand sign, something that can, make us feel like we have this group spirit and camaraderie, and just, you know, to make them feel like they're part of something and they have that sense of belonging, a sense of pride that they belong to the Corona Masjid youth group. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I just thought of this thing on the fly. We're taking a group photo, and I was like, okay, what if I have them make a letter C with their hands? So I'm thinking in my head, I'm running it through the supposed filters that I try to set up. So, you know, how can we make it, okay, is that good? Does it mean anything bad? I hope it's not going to mean anything bad. Okay, I think it's fine. Does it, and here's the thing, even in my brain, I was thinking, does it resemble any existing gang signs? And I was like, okay, so that one, somehow I let that slide.
I have to ask.
Yeah, so lo and behold, yeah, no, it happened. So I was like, okay, girls, everybody put up a C for Corona, make a C with your hand. And they were like dragging their feet, like, okay, this youth group mentor is kind of annoying now. Like, can we just take a group photo and move on? Like, nice photo, maybe a silly photo, and that's it. But no, I was like, no, we have to do a third type, throw up those C's. So we did that everywhere. We did that in front of the van. We did that like at every destination we went to. We did it at Sunset Cliffs. We did it with the harbor behind us in San Diego, all over the place. Anyways, like a few days later or several days later, I was thinking like, oh snap, wait, C is the same as the Crips? Yeah, and you know, it was a really bad, innocent mistake. You know, and some people started to say Sister Samar is recruiting youth group girls for gang membership. And I don't know. No, that's not what it is. So it's a very important lesson learned for me to be very careful, run things through extra filters, maybe ask a person or two, you know.
Hassan's a good person to ask about gang signs.
Yeah.
Which one you should
always have a homie from the hood.
See, I'm totally clueless, unfortunately. I'm that innocent, mashallah.
Oh.
I had no idea.
I thought you would have known.
Samar, I have to say, like when you came to San Diego for the Omar Suleiman event, and remember you hit up all of the like us Al-Maghrib guys that were there to take a picture. Yeah. That's when we started talking about, hey, the youth groups, we got to start talking together, and subhanAllah. So this is all okay, Sister Samar. I mean, maybe all the reward of us coming together for an event goes to you, inshallah.
Inshallah, that would be awesome. You know, we have to collaborate more, and the youth get excited about it too. They start to feel like they're a part of something greater instead of like every youth group being in their own world, in their own masjid. They start to interact with other communities and then other organizations, and then they themselves get to be a part of. You know, we talk about the importance of involving them in serving their own masjid and being a part of not only their own youth programming, but how about other, you know, functions of the masjid, like IT and fundraising and, you know, everything else that could be going on. You know, let them have a role in that so that we can pass the baton to them. But then how about connecting them to other organizations so they understand what else are they a part of? What else could they contribute to?
Real talk, we're taking a field trip. I know for us, Sheikh Shahid, I know we still got to make sure about this, but we got to do like youth group field trips to other youth group programs, right? Like we got to go to San Diego. Corona's kind of far. We'll think about going to Corona.
Okay.
You know,
Corona's about to become so cool that you're just going to want to be here all the time.
So I got to say, Corona youth groups should be proud to be a part of something NEXTGEN and ISOC are doing.
Okay. All right. Well, whatever you need to tell yourself to sleep at night. Okay.
What's it like working with the youth? Now you've been working with them for 2 years now, is that right?
So I've been volunteering with them, yeah, about 2 years. I don't know, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful.
What's beautiful?
They're
a lot of people don't like working with kids, you know, like to be honest, especially like 18 and 25. It's like, yo, dog, like.
Yeah, I mean, look, the ones who want to be there and they're sincere, that's the part that shows. It comes out. So like, despite the, you know, the hiccups and maybe they're, you know, they may not have, you know, certain parts of their dealings with you refined, or they may make mistakes with you. They may say something wrong. They may totally slip up in a number of things, but between that, when we're doing, you know, little talks, little reminders, little conversations here and there, their sincerity still shows through. They still want to please Allah. They still want to be their best. They still want to get up and try again. They still want to, you know, do something. And that's why they're there in the first place. So I think just seeing that in real life, like as a dynamic and play out, it's inspiring to me.
So I know today you're actually going to be talking about the attributes of the divine.
Yes.
Why did you pick that topic? And can you kind of explain it as well?
Yeah, sure. Can I ask you a question first?
Oh man, yeah.
No, it's chill. How much time do I have for this? on our schedule. I'm at whatever you call.
Oh, I think we're good. I was just thinking like our timetable. Guy, just to let the audience know, we're going a little bit behind on schedule, but if you guys are up, we're up too. But I know we have our interpreters that are going till 2:30 or 2. So.
Okay, so I guess I'll try to keep things brief, inshallah, and you can, move me along as whatever.
To be honest, I'm enjoying myself a little bit too much all the time. So like time kind of goes out the window.
Cool. So the subject of the names and attributes of Allah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. The names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like my favorite subject. And it gets me so excited. Like if we were in a desert and I found some water and everyone is like dead thirsty and we're in a group and y'all sent me out to the front to be like, someone go find some water. If I were to find some water, I would run back with like so much excitement to be like, guys, we're going to live, inshallah. I found the water that we need to survive and to have life. I would be so excited and so happy. You guys would be so excited and so happy. And that's the kind of excitement that I see and love that I see for this beautiful subject of knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through his names and attributes. We're all in need. This life is like a desert to us. We all have needs, we all have wants, we're in poverty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And only he can fulfill those needs of ours. So what better way to do it than by connecting with him in a very detailed and deep way. We talked about earlier with the Safi that we want to develop this intimate relationship with Allah. And we always talk about the need to develop this intimate relationship with Allah. But how are you going to do that if you don't even know who he is, right? Like, he mentioned the example of when you're getting to know someone for marriage. How are you going to marry somebody without knowing who they are? That's just weird. You gotta know what's going on. Or, how would you be good friends with somebody if you didn't know the good things about them that drew you to being good friends with them, right? Or if you're gonna let somebody, like if you're gonna trust someone to drive your car and take it to the other side of town because, a family member needs your car, you're gonna have to trust someone, but how are you gonna trust them without knowing them? And what's gonna make them qualified? وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلِ الْأَعْلَى. To Allah belongs the highest example, but we talk about these things so that we can kind of get our minds and our hearts just a little bit in the zone of trying to understand the magnificence of this subject, the names and attributes of Allah. Another thing that we see is like on social media, people seem to be happy out of like nowhere. It's like endless happiness. Things are going so great. Their social media posts are like procured, and manicured to always show the good stuff. Never show anything bad, never show anything that's wrong. It's always the good stuff. So people consuming this, we look at it and we're like, wow, they must have it going on all the time. They got it pretty good all the time. They don't have any problems. Am I the only one with problems over here? They seem like they've got it figured out. Nothing ever goes wrong. It's all the good stuff. But we know that's not always the case. And one of the things that I wonder is, okay, if life is going to be tough for everyone, what's the key to having a sense of contentment and a sense of peace and a fair chance at happiness and a fair chance at contentment? What's the key to that? And honestly, from my own reflections, just disclaimer, I'm not a Shaykh, I'm not an Ustadh, I've just volunteered for a lot of like Islamic classes, so based on my love for this subject. But I honestly feel like knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that key to having a fair chance at having contentment in life and happiness in life, and something that is genuine and sustaining, and it's not just gonna float away, right? And it's amazing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. Whoever turns away from my remembrance, verily for him is a depressed life, a miserable life. And so turning away from his remembrance, he's calling us to remember him. How are we going to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and get that content life, hopefully? How are we going to remember him without knowing him? You have to know something to remember it, right? It's a very basic level.
Where do we start from getting to know Allah? Like, what's the place to start?
I'm sorry? Go ahead. So where do we start getting to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Alhamdulillah, Allah did not leave us to ourselves to like imagine by ourselves what's Allah about. Alhamdulillah, He gave us revelation. He gave us the Quran. He gave us the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and the hadith that came from his blessed life and his statements, so that we can learn about Allah. You know, from that that's how we can really start to know the specific things about how do we develop that deep love and that deep trust, and that, you know, have that full certainty in Allah. Because, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, He praises the people that they're hopeful and they're certain about meeting their Lord someday, and that you know, they're hopeful and they're certain about returning back to Allah someday. You know, this is all based on knowledge, and that's where it all comes from. It's knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, we have beautiful hadith like man ahabba liqa Allah ahabba Allah liqa'ah, that whoever loves to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will love to meet him. Right? We have a hadith that where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reported to have said, like in a hadith Qudsi, that said, I am as my slave thinks I am. So we have to have the best thoughts of Allah. And when we have these best thoughts of Allah based on this knowledge that came from the Quran and Sunnah, we'll never really be able to ever think evil about Him. Our relationship with Him will be so pure and so good. Because if you know goodness about Allah, and that's what you think of Him, that's what you expect of Him, that's what you will find, inshallah, is that goodness. And overall, like the scholars, you know, they praise this subject, that knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through His names and attributes, that this subject is great. It's the most increases our iman, like this knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in second place comes learning about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Are there any pitfalls when it comes, like maybe that we should be careful of when it comes to Allah's names and attributes?
Yeah, there are some pitfalls. Let me talk about one kind of as a personal confession from my part, and then I'll tell you two that I commonly see. So from a personal perspective, I used to kind of belittle this subject in terms of it comes off as very basic. You think the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh, I've heard those before. You just, you know, they're a list. You run down a list, you know, and you understand them at a very superficial level. And then therefore, maybe like me, a person assumes that, okay, we're just meant to know them at a very superficial level. But there's a greater gem and a greater beauty to it. And that is, we have to know that the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said about the names of Allah. And this is something that if we overlook, we're missing a chance at Jannah. What is this chance at Jannah? The Prophet ﷺ said that Allah has 99 names, 100 except for one, and whoever encompasses them, man ahsaha, dakhal al-Jannah, they will enter paradise. So getting to know these names is not a superficial deal. It could be your ticket to Jannah. I don't know about y'all, I want Jannah. I want to get in from like the window, the back door, the front, anywhere. Just like get me into Jannah, please. That's what I want. So the scholars, they talk about what does man ahsaha mean in this hadith? What's it mean to really encompass these names? And this is the part where we got to connect with it. We can't miss this. We can't miss this. Encompassing the names of Allah, they say it's got 4 levels to it. 4 levels for man ahsaha, encompassing these names. The first one is figuring out what those names are, which is easy, alhamdulillah, that's been done by scholars, figuring out what those names are. The second level is to learn and memorize those names. All right, doable inshallah. The third level is making dua to Allah through those names, i.e. interacting with them. Making dua to Allah through those names, calling out to Him using His beautiful names. And the fourth level of encompassing these names are living in accordance with these names, living it. It's not enough to just know it, to know they exist, or to just memorize it, or just to even use it in dua, just for it to be rolling off your lips. But no, the fourth level is that we must live in accordance with these things. And you see that like interacting at these 4 levels, it's going to change us. It changes our behavior, it changes our attitude, changes our mindset, how we view the world and how we view people and our calamities and our struggles and what we want and what we need and all that stuff. Allah says in Surah Al-A'raf, وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. To Allah belongs the best names, the most perfect, beautiful, majestic names. So make dua to Allah using those names. Make dua to Allah using those names. That's what Allah wants for us. And dua is not a light matter. It's not. Some people think of it as like this disposable thing that they don't really need. It's like, well, whatever. When I feel like it, it's not. No, dua is the essence of worship. The Prophet ﷺ said that dua huwa al-ibadah. Or in another narration, dua mukh al-ibadah. That it's the essence of worship. That's what it's all about. So we need to figure this out. We need to embrace it. But aside from that, I'd say some other common pitfalls. Man, one is like some people, me included, we somehow like have to have a really big calamity in life, a really big problem to wake us up and to make us start seeking Allah, to make us say, oh, now I want Allah, now I want to know Allah, now I feel like I want that fondly, right? Later on after their growth and their journey, and they say, that was so beautiful. I'm so grateful for that difficulty. I'm so grateful for that calamity, or else I wouldn't have woken up. I wouldn't have known my Lord. I'm tasting a sweetness of Iman now I could have never gotten if it wasn't for those hard times. You know, and so they love it in that way. It's not all a bad thing, but it's still important to not neglect that, you know, to not wait until we have a calamity. You know, we're told in the hadith that if we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in times of ease, if we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in times of ease and we remember him in times of ease, he'll know us and remember us in times of our hardship, i.e. when we really need it. When we need Allah all the time. Let's not get it twisted. But when we really are wishing. The second pitfall I'd say people fall into is, this is a really big one. And this can happen so subtly, like in our minds, we don't even realize it. It's like on the DL of the DL of the DL. So you gotta be really careful about this one. You gotta be so careful, okay? Really, because it can happen like, it's like invisible. I'm like, what, you even thinking like that? I feel like even people who are, I'm not talking about people who are like early in their stages of getting, you know, more religious or getting closer to Allah. Even like, you know, when people have been learning about Islam for a long time, students of knowledge for a long time, we can still slip up in this way. And that is thinking that dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like dealing with the people, or vice versa, that we think that Allah may be dealing with us the way his creation deals with us. And that's not true. And that's not fair. And that's not a just thought to have about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't want to get it twisted. You see, when we learn about Allah through the Quran and the Sunnah, we know Allah for who he is. Okay, it's pure. It's the best. It is free from any imperfection, free from any defect. Subhanallah, Allah is above his creation in all of that, right? Nothing is like him in that sense. And he is free from us associating any of these ill thoughts or these ill things with us. That's on us. That's for us to have, the creation. We're the ones who are capable of those mistakes. We're the ones who are capable of having those ills. There's a principle in fiqh that says that basically that the rights of Allah are built upon pardoning, musamaha, and that the rights of the people are built upon mushahana, which is like a constant arguing and seeking of their rights. You know, always trying to get what's yours, right? And so that shows us that with Allah, Allah can give us an excuse, or he may totally like her. That's awesome. But with the people, sometimes it's not the case. Right? Like, so with people, with people, the more you ask them for something, if you keep asking somebody for a favor, they're gonna be like, dude, can you stop? Like, I've had enough, right? The more they hate you. Can you help me with this? Can you help me here? Can you do something here? Can you? I mean, look, I'm a mom to a 4-year-old. I love my son, but even I have a hard time hearing when he asks me for stuff all day long. That's just that's the natural thing.
That's like when the youth group asked me for stuff. It's really difficult.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man. My condolences.
Joking, guys.
My condolences. But see, look, what's so amazing is that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more that you ask him, the more that he loves you. And he doesn't get tired of your asking. And still he wants you to ask even more. So we have to see that we have to be very careful if we're ever thinking that maybe Allah is like tired of hearing us ask or doesn't want us to ask. No. We have to have these like red lights go off, sirens, alert, emergency. Do not think about Allah that he is anything like his creation. No, it ain't like that. You know, earlier Ustadh Safi was talking about vulnerability, that some youth and even adults that we have a hard time being vulnerable with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the first time I've heard of that. Not to say it's not a real issue, but it made me think. My first thought was we carry that as kind of like a baggage because we've had maybe bad experiences elsewhere. You know, where being vulnerable with other human beings burned us. Being vulnerable showed us that, no, you're going to give them ammunition against you. I don't want to be hurt like that. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's not the case. He will never hurt you. He'll never wrong you. He'll never oppress you. He'll never be unjust to you. That is not who Allah is. So even like with repeat mistakes, you know, like with human beings, you can make mistakes with them so often and keep asking them to forgive you. They'll forgive you the first time, the second time, the third time. They start to be like, okay, are we having a pattern here? By the time you get to the 5th or 10th time, they're like, you know, I can't keep letting you do this. I can't keep forgiving you. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can go back again and again and again and again. And he can forgive you again and again and again and again. There are no limits. Not just that, but when he forgives you, he can still love you. No hard feelings. Or you can still be so amazing in the eyes of Allah. People can't do that. You know, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of his beautiful names is Al-Afu. The one who pardons and forgives, but not just in a way where it's still on your record. Al-Afu is like, it's erased from your record. It's not even there anymore. Like it's traces, like as if, you know, imagine like something walking in the sand or making footprints somewhere. It just totally, it's gone. No traces of it. Like forgive and forget, and you're just like on a totally clean slate. Honestly, sorry, humans can't really do that. So nothing is like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Absolutely nothing. What's
one of your favorite names of Allah?
Oh, I have to pick one?
You gotta pick one.
Oof. Okay. Man, this is not a cool question, but okay. Just to pick one.
You can pick one.
I'll say the name Al-Jabbar.
Al-Jabbar. And what does Al-Jabbar mean?
Al-Jabbar has a few meanings. One is that the one who compels, meaning compels, like, you know, forces something or someone to be or do something or to be a certain way. And the other meaning of Al-Jabbar is the one who, going back to the one who compels, it kind of has a meaning also of one of his other names, Al-Qahir, the one who overpowers, right? He can overpower any force. No force is greater than Allah. If he wants to stop something or squish it, boom, just like that.
Like my hair stopped growing.
Okay, I'm gonna get to that.
It'll stop growing.
I'm gonna get to that. But here's what's so beautiful about calling upon Al-Jabbar for your hair, Brother Hassan. Okay. The other meaning of Al-Jabbar is that he is the one who heals, who mends, who fixes that which is broken. Broken soul, broken heart, broken body, broken hair follicles. I don't know what's going on in your head. May Allah bless it and bring it back better than ever before. I mean, I'm serious. You know, when we make dua, sometimes we say them as like funny things, but you know, we can kind of be funny and we can mean it at the same time. So I hope that, you know, when I make dua, when everybody else said Ameen, I hope people said Ameen to that. Like you really meant it. You really felt that, you know what, Allah is the one who can fix that. So we're all gonna make dua for your hair tonight, Brother Hassan. But anytime you have something broken, it's my favorite because we're very often broken. We may have a broken spirit, we may have a broken soul, we may have something broken in our health, you know, health problems. Allah can fix it. Allah is the one that can compel something that it doesn't even seem like it can be fixed and make it fixed. That's from him.
Sure. I have a question.
Sure.
You really like made people wanting to learn about Allah's names and things like that. What's the easiest way they can maybe pick up a book or a YouTube series or whatever, where they can just start learning the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Right, right.
So I don't know about book recommendations, not to say that there are any there. I hope if anybody on our panel tonight has recommendations, they can say. But I have two resources for you guys. There is a YouTube series done by Sheikh Ammar al-Shukri through Al-Maghrib Institute. They did like a whole like playlist of a ton of videos about the names and attributes of Allah. I think it's under the hashtag 99 names. So put 99 names, don't put a space in between, and you should see a playlist there. Also, he taught this Al-Maghrib seminar on the subject that was profound, because you need like hours and hours and days to really delve into the subject and appreciate it and then interact with it and feel impacted by it. Make a game plan for how it's going to change your life and stuff. Good news is Sheikh Ammar recorded the class through Al-Maghrib Institute, and they are going to be having it online maybe within the next few to several months, inshallah. So keep an eye out for that. Al-Maghrib Online would have that course. And the cool thing is you get lifetime access for it, because what I want to tell anybody who's interested in learning more about the names and attributes of Allah, it's that it's a non-stop process. It's a continuous journey. And the way you understand and are impacted by certain names and attributes of Allah now will very likely change and grow and morph into something more deep and more beautiful as you go through life. You have different experiences, different perspectives, different tests and trials and tribulations to give you a greater access to feeling that connection with Allah, to making dua through those names. And sometimes that could be one of the wisdoms why Allah sends us certain difficulties, is so that we can know Him in that deeper way. And where we say that, knowing Allah in this way is better than, after this difficulty, is better than how I used to not know Him before this difficulty happened. So do know that it's a lifelong process. But you know what? Books and video like YouTube series are great, but it's nothing compared to learning in person with a teacher.
I agree.
You have to have a connection with your local teachers. Most of us here are in SoCal. SoCal is saturated with learning opportunities and teachers and anybody that you can kind of grab kindly, not physically. Please don't go telling people that someone is telling you to grab your local mashayikh. No. With loving requests, ask them, hey, we gotta have some classes about the names and attributes of Allah. Please don't leave us hanging. Because sorry, it's been like 20 minutes or 15 minutes of me trying to just brush scratch the surface of an introduction to the subject of names and attributes of Allah. It doesn't cut it. It's not enough. This is cheating you. You should feel cheated. You should be like, I want the real stuff. I want the real deal. Go find a teacher. And we have so many mashayikh, alhamdulillah, and we have so many, I'm sure, classes that go on currently about it. We totally need that. And you're going to see that it's going to impact you. It's going to change you.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Samar. And for such a sweet talk, we actually are going to be doing one very sweet giveaway. I wanted to say that because I thought it'd be really funny. Our next giveaway, and I'll tell you guys a question, is actually going to be Shifa honey. If you guys haven't had Shifa honey, then you guys are most likely missing out on life. Here's our Instagram. It's Shifa honey. We got a bunch of cool posts. They actually have a website as well. They're actually going to be doing honey and oil as well. I think the oil that they're giving away is like a really hard oil to get.
It's from Palestine.
It's like the legit stuff. Summer, I think you broke out a little bit. But yeah, it's from Palestine. It's like some super duper legit oil. So the question is, and just remember, we still have a bunch of giveaways tonight. It's you text it, the answer to 786-373-6993. That number again, 786-373-6993. The question is, this is from Sister Summer's talk, name one of the 2 pitfalls or mistakes some Muslims make when it comes to knowing Allah. Okay? Name one of the 2 pitfalls or mistakes some Muslims make when it comes to knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is there one final thought you want to wrap up with if there's one thing that they can work on, I know you said knowing Allah's name is a lifelong journey. Is there one thing you want to leave us with?
Oh man, there's a whole lot of things I want to leave you with.
You only get one.
I only get one. Okay. Oh, this is a toughie. Well, jumping to, we said that, okay, when we make dua, we want to like level up our dua and enrich our dua with using the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and calling out to him with those names. When we're feeling broken, to call out to Al-Jabbar. When we're feeling in wanting to be forgiven and totally pardoned, where there's no traces, we call upon Al-Ghafur and Al-Afu, and so on and so forth. But one of the beautiful ways that we can then live in accordance with the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to ask ourselves, what share of this attribute, if any, can I have for myself? How can this show in my character? How can this show in my dealings with people? Because we said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is nothing like his creation. Nothing we do can ever be like what he has, but we can try to have a share in some things, in that mercy, in being forgiving to others, in trying to heal the other people, which I think there's a hadith that this is one of the most beloved deeds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's this beautiful tazkiyah concept that kind of captures this, which is takhallaqu bi akhlaqillah, which is to be understood in a poetic sense as opposed to literal, but it basically means to adorn yourselves with the characteristics of God. Have that, ask yourself, what can I have? And for the meaning, for example, of Al-Jabbar, the one who compels, and is overpowering others, we don't want to have a share in that for other people, in that sense. There are some attributes that are only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't seek a share in that. But what's even more beautiful is you take it up, you level it up a notch, that living in accordance with these names, alhamdulillah, comes with a whole bunch of other fruits, a whole bunch of other benefits, right? Where it starts to impact us. And we see opportunities all over the Quran and Sunnah for this concept that is al-jaza'u min jins al-amal. That essentially you reap what you sow. What you do is what you get in return is going to be akin to what you've done, the actions you've put forth. So like in our pop culture, maybe we understand this concept as karma. It's not, because karma is kind of like this invisible foo-foo, la-la, I don't know how this good stuff came to me. We know how the good stuff comes to us. It's only from Allah. What goes around comes around is not some invisible source. We have the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his choices at work. But we see in many places that the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will treat us a lot of times has to do with how we treated his creation. So we see that whoever, like a hadith about that, whoever does not show mercy, he will not be shown mercy. We see that a longer hadith about if you relieve the difficulty with somebody else, Allah will relieve a difficulty for you in this life, in the akhirah. That if you forgive others, Allah will forgive you. Wouldn't you love for Allah to forgive you? So there's so many opportunities that when we show mercy to those, in the earth, Allah will show mercy upon us. So many opportunities to do something and to hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will treat us based on that. And so when we think about the names and attributes of Allah, that's really one of the things we want to think about, living in accordance with those things.
Jazakallah, Sister Samar. Do you guys want to stay connected with Sister Samar? She actually reigns from Corona, California. Jazakallah for your time, and for her to stay up during this time, it's unbelievable. We actually don't know how many cups of coffee she had.
Just one.
Just one.
It's getting tough, but
all right.
Yeah, it's cool.
For everyone that's been staying along with us, I know our viewers have dropped, and I know it's getting late, but the best is still coming. Every speaker has been bringing it tonight. Alhamdulillah. We're actually going to be moving on to our next speaker and one of our next institutions. This brother is actually coming from the Institute of Knowledge, IOK. Ustadh Zuhair, can you hear me okay?
Just a little bit.
He's actually a full-time chaplain at IOK. But Zuhair, how's your night been going so far?
MashaAllah, dude. I'm taking notes. I'm learning a lot, MashaAllah. Great book recommendations in the chat here. So,
are you having a good time so far?
Honestly, bro, like you're making my night.
Man, honestly, I'm sweating. I drank a little bit too much water. I put in some breaks without you guys knowing.
Hopes it ain't easy, right? But it sure is fun.
Yeah, but I just want, for all of our viewers out there, we still have so many prizes. There's actually more prizes that people want to give away. There's businesses that are hitting us up that's saying, hey, we'll do some more. I know there's going to be a big one. I think we might do it after Brother Zuhair's talk, or this is what we're on the street.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! We don't want to.
You like
Shahid Ali? What is up with that mug?
Yeah, that's a weird.
One of the businesses get Sheikh Shahid Ali a mug.
Communism over here. It's like communist China meets Pakistan, dude.
I'm gonna give you guys a hint.
Businesses got custom mugs. Come on.
A hint for the next giveaway, real quick. I'm just gonna.
This is my proof that I visit Turkey. That's my. I went to Turkey. What do you got? Oh.
Our next giveaway is actually going to be a Shepherd Meats Ramadan box. Word on the street is Brother Zuhair really likes food.
Oh, word on the street, brother. It's out there, my brother. And there's nothing better than a beautiful prime rib eye. Oh, Allah, Allah, Allah.
I want to share a story with you real quick before you get started, Brother Zuhair. So it's really funny. I've been part of this. This is how I actually came to find Brother Zuhair. I knew he's been alive for a long time now, a very long time. But
34 years, 33 years, 33 years.
Very long time.
I didn't even know this guy. And by the way, you guys got to see what Sister Summer's doing. She's making balloons right now.
Balloon animals.
Mashallah. Balloon animals at 1:30 a.m. California time.
There's always a good time for balloon animals. We don't restrict the fun.
I used to work in Placentia, and I used to go to IIOC for khutbahs on Friday, right? And you were giving the khutbah one time, and it was about. Then there's a backstory to this too, but it was about racism, right?
Oh yeah.
And you know, it was just like, if you guys don't know Brother Zuhair, he made you laugh and cry at the same time in the khutbah. You know, we had one of the uncles, right? And by the way, this was a very, very deep khutbah about racism, and it hit me different, like really different, right? I have a very diverse family, very diverse group of friends, co-workers. And, you know, one of the uncles there, like, you know, Brother Zuhair said one of the words that he's like, hey, you shouldn't say this, right? And it's very serious. And then one of the uncles started laughing, right? And then he said, why you shouldn't say it. And then the uncle started crying. Oh, so it rocked me to my core. And I love
Hassan. Everyone wants to know what the word is.
I think you said, you called the Bengali a fish. I think that's what it was.
Oh, astaghfirullah. I didn't call them.
No, you didn't call it, but you were saying some of the derogatory terms that people say.
Yeah.
And then he was like, you spoke about the story about the brother who didn't want to be Muslim anymore, right?
Yeah.
And his dad came up to him, right? So it hit
MashaAllah, Hassan, bro, you remember khutbahs, dude. I'm so impressed.
So I love it so much that we're in this brothers halakha every Wednesday night for the past almost 2 years now. And it was a free night, and they're like, oh, what do you guys want to do? And I was like, dude, we got to listen to this khutbah. It's nuts. And we listened to your khutbah.
Oh my God.
Now, I shared this with my brother-in-law, Muzammil Dalaboy, right? And I told him, I was like, dude, you know this guy, Brother Zuhair, like, this guy's nuts. And he's like, oh, you want to know something really funny? The person that was supposed to give the khutbah, it was actually last minute, and Brother Zuhair stepped in to give the khutbah. So I don't know, I could be wrong, but that's what he had told me. But it was a super sick khutbah. You can find it on IIOC. So you're my boy now.
I appreciate it.
So I know you're talking about forgiveness tonight. Is that correct?
Yeah. And I really wanted to piggyback off of Sister Summer's talk on the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And she specifically mentioned a very beautiful dua, but just remind me to bring it up at the end of my talk, okay, Hassan? Actually, when I talk about istighfar, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, we always begin with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we ask that He sends His blessings and protection on our dear beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. One of my favorite stories, and I'll just share an amazing story with you guys because I know we have some amazing giveaways and shuyukh coming up after me. I have a favorite story about istighfar. And when I give this talk, if I give it 10 times, I tell the story 10 times. I don't care how many times people have heard it. It's just, for me, it shows how real istighfar is in people's life, you know? And one day, and there is a very famous scholar in our tradition. His name is Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, right? One of the main schools of Islamic law is after this Shaykh. He's a big time Shaykh. I mean, if he was alive today, he would be like, every single scholar would study under his feet, right? Like big time Shaykh. And he was even big time at his time too. But you have to understand, at their time, they didn't have Twitter, they didn't have Instagram, like mashallah, Hassan's getting some clout following tonight, you know, mashallah. So Imam Ahmad, you know, he's old in age at this point in his life and he's traveling, okay? And so even though he's popular, people don't know what he looks like. And so he's traveling and, you know, some of his hotel plans fall through because they didn't have Expedia.com back then, right? So, you know, his accommodations fall through and, you know, he's an old guy and he's a Shaykh and he's at the masjid, but he's also very humble. He's not going to be like, hey guys, I'm Imam Ahmad, anybody got like a spare room or whatever? So he does what most people would do, right? He goes to the masjid and he's hanging out there and it's Isha time and they pray Isha. And, you know, what happens at the masjid after Isha is, you know, the brother comes in and he turns off the lights and he kicks everybody out, right? So this old man's in the masjid. He's like, look, I'm sorry, uncle, but you got to go. We're closing the masjid. And he's like, look, I don't have a place to stay and this and that. And he's like, look, I'm sorry, but we got to close the masjid. You can't stay here. So there's this baker, okay? This baker was there and he felt bad for this old man. He said, you know what? I'll let you stay with me. You know, I got some spare place. You can come sleep, you know, we'll make do, we'll make it fit, you know, we'll figure it out, right? And as they're walking back, and they're walking to the man's house, Imam Ahmad notices something special about this guy. You know, Imam Ahmad's like, how are you? What's your name? What do you do? This and that. And as they're walking back, this guy's just always like, astaghfirullah, 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 under his breath, right? And so Imam Ahmad asks the guy, he says, you know, as they're walking and he's like, you know, what's going on? This and that, this and that. Eventually he says, you know, I have a question for you. He says, what? He says, what have you seen in your life change because of all this istighfar you're doing, right? And so the baker turns to Imam Ahmad and he says, subhanAllah, when, you know, because I make so much istighfar, ever since I've been doing this, I've noticed that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers all of my dua. I'm making so much istighfar, and because of this, I see in my life, Allah answers all my dua. Imam Ahmad's like, wow, that's beautiful. And the baker says, except for one dua, right? Except for one dua. And so Imam Ahmad is thinking the same thing everyone is thinking, right? What are you thinking, Hassan? What do you think his question is?
If he made it to Jannah already?
No, he said, Allah answered all my dua except for one.
Like
so
what?
Imam Ahmad's question is,
oh, which dua did he not answer?
What dua did Allah not answer, right? Like, you trying to go get with this lady, you trying to get married, you trying to ask for something haram, I don't know what's going on. So Imam Ahmad is like, okay, like I have to know, right? He's like, I have to know what dua did Allah not answer for you. And so the baker looks to him and he says, you know, I've always wished in my life to meet this famous Imam Ahmad, but I never got the chance to go. And so Imam Ahmad is like, oh my God, dude. Like, not only did Allah answer your dua, he dragged me to your house, bro. Like, oh my goodness.
Oh, that's deep, bro.
Right? Like, when I hear that story,
of the night.
Oh my God, when I heard that story, I was like, dude, that's it, subhanAllah. Like, you know, and it's amazing because we think of istighfar as a way to get like Jannah and forgiveness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's for sure, right? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, none of us get to Jannah based on our own deeds. And the companions are like, what about you? You're the Prophet, right? Your prayer is the best. Your feet are cracking in prayer. Your dua is the best. Your sincerity is the best. Your akhlaq are the best. And the Prophet said, even me, I'm not going to go to Jannah because of my deeds. I'm going to go to Jannah because Allah was merciful to me, right? But when we think about that, we also have to realize, like, Nuh alayhi salam, he came to his people and he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about this incident with Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, and he's preaching to his people and he says, فَقُلْتُ اسْتَغْفِرُوا رَبَّكُمْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ غَفَّارًا. He's saying to his people, seek the forgiveness of Allah and you will find him forgiving. يُرْسِلِ السَّمَاءَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِدْرَارًا. Allah will send upon you rain. And I know for me and you, like when it rains, it's like inconvenient. Traffic in LA sucks. It gets even worse. People know how to drive in the rain. But you have to think back then, like rain, if you didn't have a source of water, you don't have livelihood, right? And so for them, rain and water was like, that's life, you know? Mecca today, the reason we have Mecca today is because Hajar alayhi salam, she was able to find, you know, the Zamzam well. Before that, there was no Mecca. right? Before the well of Zamzam, there was no Mecca. There was no civilization there, right? She's running around in between these two mountains. There's nobody else there until Angel Jibreel comes and gives her the well of Zamzam. So يُرْسِلِ السَّمَاءَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِدْرَارًا. Allah will send upon you rain, right? But then that doesn't end there, okay? And then he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless upon you بِأَمْوَالٍ وَبَنِينَ, right? He gives you wealth and he gives you children. And then what? أَمْوَالٍ وَبَنِينَ. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about giving you jannat and anhara, right? These 5 things he gives you. He gives you gardens, real estate, right? Real estate, imagine that, you know? In LA, you understand how precious real estate is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you gardens and he'll give you, right? All of these things and rivers flowing. So not just rain, but constant sources of water as well. So constant livelihood. These are all blessings in this life that you get from istighfar, right? And one of the famous du'as that the Prophet ﷺ, you know, and Sister Samar touched on this name of Allah, Al-Afu, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just forgives you without, you know, like they say when you're walking in the sand and the wind blows, you know, there's no footprints left behind. And that's what Al-Afu does to you. And Aisha radiallahu anha, she asked the Prophet ﷺ, she says, if we're looking for Laylatul Qadr, and this is important because we're in Ramadan, the last 10 nights are about to start soon. But you know, Allah's forgiveness doesn't start with the last 10 nights. It already started. So we don't have to wait until then. So she said, oh Messenger of Allah, what should I say if I'm looking for Laylatul Qadr? He said a very beautiful dua. He says, Allahumma innaka afu. Oh Allah, you are al-afu. Tuhibbul afwa. And you love doing this act of mercy called afwa. Fa'afu anni. So give me this act of mercy. Give me this afu. Right? This is the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, one day a man came to a famous scholar in a tradition. His name is Imam Ibn al-Jawzi, rahimahullah. And the man said to him, and he said, when I'm doing dhikr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what should I prioritize? Should I ask Allah for forgiveness first, or should I do tasbih? Right? So I don't know, Hassan, what do you think? Let me flip I'm gonna ask you questions now. What would you say?
Not tasbih.
Not tasbih? Why?
I don't know.
Okay, that's a good guess. Actually, I mean, we'll talk about this, but there's, you know, evidences for both. But Imam Ibn al-Jawzi, he says, a dirty thobe, a dirty shirt, is more in need of washing than it is perfume, right? So a spoiled soul is more in need of istighfar than it is of, you know, doing tasbih in a sense. But I mean, in the Quran, we find evidences for actually both. Aisha radiallahu anha, she says that one of the du'as the Prophet would make the most at the end of his life was Subhanallah wa bihamdihi astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. Subhanallah, right? Glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and saying astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. You know, one of the reasons people don't make du'a is because sometimes we think we have everything we need, and so we don't know what to make du'a for, right? It's like, alhamdulillah, I feel content, I feel blessed. I don't really need anything else, so I don't want to have anything else to make du'a for. But then, you know what? Ask Allah, say alhamdulillah for stuff that you have. You feel like you're content, you have everything you need. But there's 2 types of dua. There's the dua of mas'ala, asking, and dua al-ibadah, which is dhikr. And one of the greatest types of adhkar you can make is istighfar to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking his forgiveness. And that's what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, make istighfar, you know, because I do istighfar, I ask Allah for forgiveness over 70 times a day. You know? And so we have in the Quran, we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. Right? So glorify Allah, do tasbih, wastaghfir, and ask for forgiveness. But then we also have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying in the Quran, فَاصْبِرْ إِنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ. Be patient, for indeed the promise of Allah is true. وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ. And seek forgiveness of your sins. وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ بِالْعَشِيِّ وَالْإِبْكَارِ. And praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your Lord, in the evening and in the morning. So we have a constant way of just always coming back and asking Allah for forgiveness. You know, one of the tricks of Shaitan is that before you commit a sin, he comes in and he reminds you of Allah's forgiveness. He says, look, bro, like, it's okay, hit up that girl, follow Hassan on Instagram, no problem. I mean, it's okay, you can do this haram thing, whatever, it's not a problem, Allah will forgive you. But then after you commit the sin, Shaitan will come to you and removes the hope from you, right? Allah won't forgive you. How could Allah forgive you? You knew it was a sin. So why would he forgive you? It doesn't make sense, right? And this is just one of the tricks of Shaitan. And actually the scholars say, in reality, it should be kind of flipped. Before you commit a sin, you should remind yourself of fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his punishment. And then after you commit the sin, remind yourself of the hope in Allah's mercy. You know, remind yourself in the hope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. You know,
I gotta ask you this, man. Like,
okay.
In regards to like asking for forgiveness, right? Like, is it really, this might sound dumb, but is it really that easy? Like, let's say you just, is it so easy to ask for forgiveness regardless of what you've done?
Yeah. So I think Sheikh Omar even touched on it, right? The man that killed 99 people and then he killed 100, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave him in his infinite mercy. You know, when, especially when it comes to answering people's dua too. People think like you have to be a righteous person for Allah to answer your dua. But Allah actually gives us hope by telling us of an incident where he answered Shaitan's dua, right? Like Shaitan's dua was answered, right? After the creation of Adam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is kicking him out, he says, oh Allah, allow me to live until the day of judgment so I can misguide, right? Allow me to live. And he makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered his dua through his infinite wisdom, right? So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can answer the dua of Shaitan, then who are me and you to not, you know, have our dua answered and seeking his forgiveness? And it's amazing because Musa alayhi salam comes to Fir'aun, the greatest, not good person, Hassan. I just need you to know this. We should not name people Fir'aun, okay? He was not a good guy. He was not a good guy.
Young and dumb, man.
Okay, I was just, alhamdulillah, we all learn from our mistakes, no problem. But Musa alayhi salam is instructed to come to Fir'aun and remind him of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means that if Fir'aun had listened, Allah would have forgiven him. So if Allah could forgive someone like Fir'aun, if he had done what he was supposed to do, then why can't he forgive us, man? Honestly, why not? And to question Allah's mercy is a bigger sin than doing whatever sin it was that you thought Allah wouldn't forgive you for. And Shaykh Omar talked about this, and it was really beautiful. It really hit me when he said it. And he says Allah will forgive us for things that we don't even forgive ourselves for doing, right? And so that's something we need to take to heart, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us, I mean, Allah doesn't get anything out of punishing us. Allah doesn't want to punish us. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that وَهُوَ الَّذِي يَقْبَلُ التَّوْبَةَ عَنْ عِبَادِهِ, that he is the one that accepts the tawbah of his servants, وَيَعْفُ عَنِ السَّيِّئَاتِ, and he forgives the sins. Again, this name of afu again. وَيَعْلَمُ مَا تَفْعَلُونَ, and he knows that which you do. And think about this, right? What Allah describes himself as in this verse. He says he knows what you do. So even though Allah knows the sin in your heart that you want to commit, even though Allah knows the animosity that and the jealousy and all the evils of our hearts, even though Allah knows all of that, he still says, I will do afu for you. I will forgive you. Allah doesn't forgive us because of his ignorance. Allah forgives us because of his knowledge. Right? And I mean, how can we give up in the hope of that? And I just want to end with a very beautiful verse, one of my favorite verses on forgiveness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ, say, O my servants who have wronged themselves, لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ, don't give up hope in the mercy of Allah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ جَمِيعًا, for Allah forgives the sins all together. Right? Jami'a, like Jum'ah prayer, is because we all come together. Jami'a, all together. Allah will forgive all your sins together. إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ, for he is the forgiving, the merciful. One thing I looked at when I remember this verse, I always think of this. What does Allah call people that he wants to forgive? He calls them ibadi, my servants. But these are not people that were doing worship in that moment. These are not people that were doing Qiyamul Layl. He's saying these are people who wronged themselves. These are people who sinned. When you look at the scholars and they look at the life of the Prophet ﷺ, you ask them and they look through and you say, what is the greatest title that Allah gave the Prophet ﷺ in the Quran? And they'll say, one of the greatest titles the Prophet is given in the Quran is Abdi, my servant. And this is from the verse of Surah Al-Isra, Surah 17, verse number 1. Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi. During the Isra and Mi'raj, Allah is saying, Subhanalladhi, the glory be to the one, He's praising Himself, that did the Isra and Mi'raj for His servant, meaning the Prophet, right? They say this is the greatest servant, this is the greatest title that the Prophet was given, being the servant of Allah. And here in this verse, Allah is saying that about us, claiming about us the greatest titles that He gave to the Prophet. Oh, my servants, right? Meaning Allah knows that the people who are good still commit sin. People who are in line with what He wants still commit sin. Meaning if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is honoring you with this title, you're not too little for His mercy. No one is too little for His mercy, right? And we just always have to keep that in the back of our mind. To give up hope in Allah's mercy is a trick of Shaitan. And that's not something, we shouldn't follow the tricks of Shaitan, but rather we should walk past them. And we should follow the verses of the Quran.
I like that. We should put that on a t-shirt. That's a good one.
I saw you, bro. Inshallah, you can, 75% off it, no problem.
For those of you guys that, like we said earlier, we're doing another raffle right now. I want you guys to get ready for this one. This is actually going to be coming from Brother Zuhair's talk that he just did. We are doing a giveaway for a Shepherd Meets Ramadan box. I want to give another shout out real quick before I forget to Muhsin Org. These sisters are killing it for interpreting. Like, I wonder how she's interpreting it. Like, mashallah. Like, this is like phenomenal. You guys are doing an absolutely great job. I think they're in Virginia or Chicago right now, and they're up and they're like, I want to just talk really, really fast to see if she can keep up.
I might actually mesmerized too.
No,
mashallah. I mean, they are, mashallah.
Especially like the hardcore Arabic words, like we have trouble even defining them in other verbal languages, if that's correct to say.
So guys, the question, just remember, I would get your guys' phones ready for this. The number is 786-373-6993. The number again, 786-373-6993.
Before you ask the question, I have a question for Ustadh Zuhair, if that's okay. You said something about changing the thobe or washing the thobe rather than perfuming it. Is that why Brother Hassan keeps changing his thobe?
May Allah forgive him even more than he changes his thobe.
Ameen.
I just think like forgiveness in general for me, like, carrying like a bag of guilt for years, right? Because I think like when you really think in your head, like, man, like, how's Allah gonna forgive me about this? Like you're like shortchanging Allah on who He really is, right? Like we talked about the attributes and names of Allah, but when you really realize like you can be forgiven, your life, your mindset changes. When you do things and you realize, man, I messed up, there's a way out, right? That doesn't mean, hey, go do bad things and there's a way out. It's like when you we all mess up, right? We're imperfect, but Allah's the greatest, man.
Can I just touch on something? I'll just share one of our Shaykh shared with me, Shaykh Walid Basir Rahimahullah. He really like broke it down for us. He said, like there's 4 like main names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we all like attribute to mercy, right? Ar-Rahman, the merciful, that His mercy encompasses everything. Muslim, non-Muslim, your trees, like everything in the universe, this type of mercy has touched. And then we have Ar-Rahim. وَكَانَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَحِيمًا. It's a type of mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that some of the scholars say that we will see on the Day of Judgment. Okay? Then you have Al-Afu, which we've talked about, the one that forgives sins without leaving any trace behind. And then we have Al-Ghafur. And this one is really amazing. He says, this is the type of mercy that you do something and then you receive it. Meaning you trigger this type of mercy. And it's important to think, he said, why do you need to know, like, why is that different than any of the other ones, right? Because you think about rahmah, this is something Allah does to you proactively. But maghfirah, it was made to seem like this is something that's like reactive. Like you did something and because of you seeking it, you got this forgiveness. And one of the beautiful things that you can take away from this is, it doesn't make you give up hope. Because Allah will respond to your istighfar. Allah will respond to the thing that you do to seek forgiveness. And so it gives you so much hope in Allah's mercy.
You know, something I really appreciated, Brother Zuhair, that you mentioned in your talk was about, you know, referring to the tricks of Shaitan. I don't think we talk about that enough. Like, he's got an arsenal of tricks and pitfalls against us that I feel like we don't really even think about, or we just kind of like think about it in a chill way. Like, oh yeah, that's Shaitan. He's trying to get us into hellfire. Okay. But I don't know, like, I feel like we should be a lot more fired up about like our biggest enemy. You know, he's our clear, obvious enemy, and we're just gonna be chill about it. Like, if I knew somebody was gonna harm my family and they're my enemy, then I'm gonna go all out. Like, they better watch out. But then how about Shaitan trying to get us into hellfire? And we're just like, so there's a lot that he does that we just don't even realize.
I will say this is one of my favorite parts was, if Allah can answer Shaitan's dua, what can he answer our forgiveness? You know, he said he even answers. Yeah. Let me ask the question, because I know there's a lot of people that are like ready to go. Our next giveaway, let me see if I could share my screen real quick. For those of you guys have not heard of Shepherd Meats, you guys can follow them on Instagram. It's Shepherd Meats, at Shepherd Meats. They do premium halal zabiha, prime wagyu cuts of all types of meat. They just started doing cheeses. They have new chicken and lamb sausages, beef strips, beef halal bacon strips. I try to say beef strips just so you guys don't get it twisted, like Sister Summer says. They also do desserts as well. They're actually sponsoring a Ramadan box. So here's the question. Be ready, and just to remember that number, it's 786-373-6993. Number again, 786-373-6993.
Hey, can we make an exception? Can I answer this question?
No, you can't, because it's from your talk.
But I know the answer.
All right, here we go. And by the way, before I say the question.
Wait, can my wife win?
Your wife can win if she was actually listening, but most likely maybe she wasn't listening.
I mean, it depends. How long have you been married? That's how we know if she still listens to you or not.
Ouch.
So, real quick, guys, the last winner of the Shifa honey, the last four digits of the number was 3111. That's 3111. You were the last winner. Congratulations. Here's the question, and you guys need to be specific with the answer. I think you guys are ready. Okay. The question is, okay, it's the first person with the right answer. Okay. What was the baker's dua that didn't get accepted, and who was it about? What was the baker's dua? Who was it about? The dua that did not get, the dua that he thought did not get accepted. You need to say the name as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Look at that. If you answer the question from the guy that makes food, you get a food box delivered to you.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. I like that. And by the way,
Hassan,
it's a digital butcher. Digital butcher. They basically hand slaughter everything and they deliver it straight to your door. So it's pretty sweet.
Oh, I thought they slaughtered digitally. I was like, whoa, like Star Wars or something, like using the Force.
Thank you so much for checking in with us. Feel free to stay on. We actually have our next guest checking in right now. Very, very excited for this one, and I know like everyone's waiting to see who actually.
Ooh. Nice.
I want to introduce Sheikh Billoo. Sheikh Billoo, can you hear me? Wait a second.
Is this the real Billoo?
Wait a second.
We have two Billoos. Hold on a second.
It was supposed to be. Hold on. Okay, guys, it's Sheikh Ahmed. There's two Billoos.
Wow.
SubhanAllah. Okay, are you guys related?
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me, Hassan?
I can't.
No, I'm not related to him, bro. I don't know him.
Wait, are you?
I don't know him.
Okay, I think I got the wrong Billoo, but
can you just read out my name real loud, Hassan, please?
Aasim Billoo. Aasim.
No. Can you read my name? Like actually read it?
Oh, the real Billoo. The real Billoo.
Okay.
SubhanAllah. We have the wrong one. Hop on.
What's up, Jay Ahmed? How's it going, bro? It looks like it's daylight wherever you're sitting.
Alhamdulillah, bro. You know what?
From the top of Hassan's head.
No, I just finished doing some work. I just finished cutting a watermelon, guys.
MashaAllah.
Oh man, that's my favorite Ramadan food, dude. Watermelon.
For real.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. You know, I've been tuning in for the past few hours. I had to get some work done, and I was tuning in when you guys started, when Sheikh Omar was talking, you know, when Sheikh Suhaib was talking, when Sister Samar was talking about, you know, connecting through the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She talked about Al-Jabbar, and then when Ustadh Zuhair was talking, mashallah, mashallah, good work, man. May Allah bless all of you, except from all of you. Enjoying it. And Hassan, obviously, you're killing it, bro.
Bro, it's...
My middle name is Janaza because I straight kill it, bro.
Wow. That's,
I'm joking. That's bad. That's bad.
literally off right now.
May Allah forgive us all.
Sheikh Shahid, I think you need to make some executive decisions.
I've been staying quiet all night, man. I'm just letting him, so you guys know who the true Hassan is. I'm just letting him.
To be honest, this is what ISOC told our youth group, and Sheikh Shahid has my back on this. They said, hey, look, you guys could do whatever you want until we tackle you guys. And alhamdulillah, Sheikh Shahid has not got tackled yet, so like, we good.
He's just letting you pile up the evidence for when he makes his case, bro.
Hold on, weren't we supposed to have a pie in the face getting delivered to Brother Hassan?
No.
Isn't that supposed to be? Who's our inside coordinator for this?
I don't even do.
It was supposed to be Ibrahim, who Hassan's brother, but I guess that fell by the wayside.
Okay, we'll have to do a part 2.
Yeah, well.
Jazakallah. Now we have the real Billoo, and then we have Billoo number 2. That's right. By the way, are you guys related? And if you guys are, how so? Like, please let it be known for everybody.
Yeah, it's way too long a story. We seriously don't want to go down how Maimons are related.
No, like blood related or not blood related?
Nah, I don't know. Is it blood? It's like there's so many different channels that I feel like the blood gets diluted. My grandfather's cousins and stuff like that.
You guys kind of look alike, like a little bit. Like hair wise, no, but like for the most part.
He's gonna keep asking you questions until he gets the story out.
Yeah.
I think too. Yeah.
It's just that we're running out of time.
Yeah. So, Brother Billoo, I know that we actually had a scheduled talk for you, and kind of things kind of changed on your end. What's kind of been going on with your community lately?
So, yeah, we had a young death in the ICSD NEXTGEN family. One of our 18-year-old brothers. He just didn't wake up this morning. He's the rahimahullah. He's Asadullah. He's the son of one of our OG Islamic school teachers, Miss Monica. She's been there for many years since Islamic school started. He's definitely just one of those pillars of the community type of family, I live near the masjid and whatnot. And subhanAllah, I mean, my topic is spiritual laziness. And I was just reflecting on what better a wake-up call from laziness than death, right? Like nothing can shake us more than that and remind us how temporary this life is, and that this life is the destroyer, or that death is the destroyer of pleasures. So yeah, I ask you all to make dua for our brother Asadullah. Keep him in your du'as and his family, inshaAllah ta'ala.
Ameen.
And, just speaking about spiritual laziness, before I dive into it, I just want to thank all the people behind the scenes. Sheikh Ahmed, thanks for joining, but also Ibrahim, who took care of all the platforms, so it's super smooth. Mr. Nazneen, who took care of the dope flyer, as well as the backgrounds and my nitpicking as to what color and angle I wanted for the backgrounds and for the flyer and whatnot. ANSAR Youth, I know you don't see their name on here and everything, but they've been a huge part of promoting. And of course, Sister Iqra, who helped us get all the ASL coordinated, and Muhsin, who hopped in like the heroes that they always are for the ummah. And I'm in healthcare, and I treat cancer patients, especially pediatric and special needs. So Muhsin is really at the core of, and I'm very passionate about what Muhsin does. So from the bottom of my heart, Jazakallahu khair. So spiritual laziness it's an ajib concept, or it was a new concept to me, and I came across it when I was just trying to think about some of the challenges that we as youth, and even the younger youth, the teenagers, have nowadays, right? A lot of times when we'll have events or we'll have conversations, we won't get that feedback that's expected, or the excitement that's expected. And the masjid boards and everything, they try to figure out why an event or what type of event is successful or otherwise. And subhanAllah, a lot of times you can have the best speakers, you can have the best topics, and it's just the tone is just not there for whatever that reason be. So I started doing some research, and subhanAllah, I came across this dua from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when he specifically asks for refuge from al-kasl, from laziness, right? He says, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-'ajzi wal-kasl. وأعوذ بك من الجبن والبخل and إلى آخره. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for refuge from worries and grief and from incapacity and laziness. I started researching that a little bit, and Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, who was one of my favorite scholars, right? And he says that incapacity and laziness, they lead to the torment of the soul, where they necessitate that one misses out on attaining something that's desired. Now this is deep, and this is where Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, usually he gets me, and this is one of the reasons why he's one of my favorite scholars and thinkers of Islam and orators of Islam. Now he says that incapacity and laziness lead to the torment of the soul because they necessitate that, or they make one miss out on attaining something that we desired. It's not like it's something that I really didn't want or really didn't care for. It's something that I really wanted. Like I really wanted to work on my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I really wanted to stay up in tahajjud. I really wanted to reach my Quran goals this year. But for some reason, I got lazy, subhanAllah. So I wanted to attain those goals, but somewhere I fell, subhanAllah. So that spiritual laziness perhaps might be when you don't have the zeal to do that, or to worship. You want to worship, but you don't have the zeal that necessitates you attain that goal. Am I yelling?
A little bit.
It's good, bro. It's coming to my heart. Keep it coming.
Sometimes I yell when I get passionate about things, you know.
Yeah,
so
but you're kind of talking about like when people like talk about it, but they're not really about that life, right?
That's exactly what I'm talking about in you youngsters' language. Yeah. When you're really not about that, when you talk the talk, but you don't walk the walks. You feel me?
Yep.
Can I say you feel me? Do people still say that?
Yeah, just
the boomers get it. The boomers get it.
But shout out to Sheikh Junaid Kharsani. You guys know Sheikh Junaid, right? He's in South Africa now. That's kind of like the OG teacher and mentor of majority of us, right? And he used to tell us back in the day, before a lot of the popular speakers started saying this, is that like, how strong do you think you are? It doesn't matter how many plates you lift if you can't lift your blanket off at Salat al-Fajr time, right? SubhanAllah, in our youth, right, especially the teenage years, I don't think there's many things that are more beloved to us than sleep, right? And if we truly love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we've truly found that intimate relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ustadh Safi, that Sheikh Omar, that Sister Samar, that Sheikh Zuhair talked about, then it'd be easy for us to prioritize that ibadah over anything, let alone be something like our sleep, which our body needs. But we take care of our body, right? Like we can see, majority of us are either super fit, right? Or even if we're out of shape, it's because we're taking care of our bodily needs with all the food that we feed it, right? And subhanAllah, if our spiritual needs aren't met, then I mean, we're gonna get spiritually malnourished. And Sister Summer deals with, I think she's a nutritionist. Definitely talk to us about physical malnourishment. And Sister Summer, I'd like to, inshallah, later on talk to you. Maybe we can just go do ping pong with physical malnourishment versus spiritual malnourishment. I think that would be a dope session, inshallah.
Sure.
Inshallah. So on the surface, like spiritual laziness might look like not getting enough, getting up early enough. And subhanAllah, with the quarantine, this has kind of become my being, right? Because when I had my routine, when I had to go to work at 6 a.m., you know, I'd go to the masjid at 5:30. There was a specific time, right? And when the quarantine started, you don't have to go to the masjid. You're working from home. You don't necessarily have to take a shower until lunchtime, right? You kind of fall out of that discipline, right? So in order to come out of spiritual laziness, we need some spiritual discipline, inshallah. And that soul level weakness is basically, it's an overwhelming, like, you want to perform, like you want to do it, and you know that you have that need, but something is stopping you from doing it. I'm gonna make myself a little vulnerable and put myself out there just for the sake of the greater good. I hope it resonates and sends the message across. Is that the other day, this might seem quite simple, but just in the state of mind that I was in, it really hit me hard when I started reflecting. That I was driving to work and there was a siwak in my car, you know? And I was like, subhanAllah, I'm fasting. The siwak is a sunnah. There are fada'il of using the siwak, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will inshaAllah ta'ala allow me to say the kalima when my soul departs from my body. And guess what? Like, for some reason, I didn't pick up the siwak and use it. I didn't even take it into the office with me. So I started reflecting when I started taking notes about my topic tonight, spiritual laziness, is that what kept me from picking up that siwak while it was right in front of me in my car while I was driving. I could easily use a siwak while driving. And I don't know, man, subhanAllah, the only thing I can think of is that spiritual laziness. And perhaps spiritual laziness stems from something deeper, that perhaps my tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't strong. Perhaps I'm not firmed as I should be in the sayings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to send the angel of death to me at any moment, in the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only that has control to allow me to say the kalima or otherwise. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. So I hope it resonates. I don't know, it's such a small example, but subhanAllah, it can be so heavy.
You know, Jazakallah khairan for sharing that. I know sometimes it's hard to talk about something that is so personal like that to us, but it benefits a lot of us because, you know, while our audience maybe cannot all comment and say, hey, I feel the same thing or I struggle with the same thing, definitely it must be reaching a lot of people. I'll say even personally, I'll join you on that note that, you know, sometimes we can experience spiritual laziness in other ways. You know, for me, I've noticed that there are some times when I'm totally free. My mind is free, my time is free, and I could be making a dhikr, I could be making a dua, but I'm not. Or I know it is the time of Azkar al-Sabah, or the time for Azkar al-Masa, the morning or the evening remembrances in their time frame, but I don't. Something stops me. Is it my spiritual laziness? Is it Shaitan? Is it my nafs? I don't know. But for me, I'm the kind of person that I want to like beat Shaitan, right? Like that's my thing. If I can beat Shaitan, if he was a person and be, you know, that's what we want to do. He's our enemy. So I just think, okay, hey, if this is a trick of Shaitan, either he's gonna win or I'm gonna win. And yeah, maybe I do have an aspect of spiritual laziness right now, but I know no matter what, I don't want him to win. So I'm gonna say something, even if it's one thing. I'm gonna say one dua, one dhikr, even if it's this big. If I had planned to do this much, I'm gonna just do this much. Just to build that muscle against that spiritual laziness. And then hopefully, you know, one step at a time, that muscle grows stronger and stronger and stronger. And it becomes something that, you know, we grow hopefully in phases, you know, whereas our growth in life, our spiritual growth, inshallah, we hope that over a lifetime flowing will still be in a positive trend. Right?
Yeah, sure.
So that's what we hope. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us with that. And really the best thing is just to remember that we're powerless without Allah's help for that.
Yeah, subhanAllah. In fact, one of my other favorite scholars of history, Imam ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah, and I urge everybody to read this book, Al-Wabil al-Sayyib min Kalam al-Tayyib, The Invocation of God. The English translation is, alhamdulillah, it gets the point across, but I would really recommend like reading the Arabic with the chef or a knowledgeable person. But in Al-Wabil al-Sayyib, Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, he talks about this aspect and he says there's two ways the Shaitan he approaches us. One is by deficiency, and one is by excess. I'll only go over the deficiency part because it relates to spiritual laziness. He said if he is inclined, if this person is naturally a take it easy, a California hippie type of person, like chill, right? Then if he's inclined towards ease, then the devil seizes him in that way, through ease, through his relaxed nature, through his chill nature. He slows him down, sits him down, afflicts him with even more laziness, with sloth, with inactivity. Then he opens for him the door of interpretation, vain hope, and other illusions until perhaps he abandons entirely all of the commandments. And on the flip side, if the devil finds him in vigilance, as an energetic person like Brother Hassan, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve his energy, then he abandons his attempts to seize him in one direction and instead spurs him on even greater efforts, whispering to him that this is not enough for you. Almost making him OCD, right? So Shaitan comes to different people through different avenues. Like, he's slick, right? So we just gotta outsmart Shaitan, inshallah. So the devil urges this person to do so much that he passes up the straight path to excess, perhaps even through innovation and bid'ah. SubhanAllah. So one of the things that I think is a great tool to sum up the theme of what all of the respective speakers have said tonight, getting to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his names and attributes, right? Getting to know Shaitan, extremely important. We gotta know the enemy. If we're gonna take him down, like the Sister Samar said, she wants to take him down. If he was a physical entity, she wants to bop him with one of those balloon animals. That's not gonna work. You gotta know Shaitan so you know how to take him down. So and we gotta know ourselves. And in knowing ourselves, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in telling us about ourselves, has told us that we are a lazy being. That's why, Shaykh Ahmed, I'm glad you're still on. One of your first khutbahs, and okay, just for this segment, I'll admit that we are related. And alhamdulillah, he's one of the cousins that I get along with the most. And one of your khutbahs that I remember till today, it was probably 15 years ago, was وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُم. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encourages us through words like, hey, hasten towards the maghfirah, that compete with each other towards the maghfirah, that rush towards the maghfirah. SubhanAllah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in teaching us about ourselves, tells us the three types of nafs. And I'm gonna let Hassan, I'm just gonna ask the question right now, Hassan. Is that cool? It's because it's part of my talk. So there are three types of nafs Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran. What are those three types of nafs? And finally, just some take homes. Hassan, you're muted. I kind of like you better this way, muted, Hassan.
SubhanAllah, man. I was planning the whole time. You want to text those three nafs, you text that to 786-373-6993. Before you say your takeaways, I want to say something. So, like, when it comes to spiritual laziness and like Shaitan and the voice of Shaitan, I know for me, like, I know I get lazy, and like, you have to know yourself to know when Shaitan's like telling you, yo, bro, just chill. No, you don't have to, like, I have to like actively, positively tell myself, yo, Shaitan, shut up. No, I got to do this anyways, right? Sometimes we're like so lost where like we can't tell a difference between Shaitan's whisper and our own internal voice. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That was a little deep, but like, you got to decipher like, yo, dog, Shaitan, shut your mouth. I got to go for this, right?
Yeah, one of the take homes is from a conversation between a couple of companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Ubay ibn Ka'ab radiallahu anhu, he tells Umar radiallahu anhu, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, that taqwa means be careful of your deen, safeguard your deen, while you pass by things that can harm your deen. Yani, when you can't avoid those thorns in the bushes and you have to walk through those bushes, then guard the way you walk. And if you have to go into the ring, then put up your dukes, right? If you got to live in the hood, put up a gate, get a security alarm. You have to pass by the temptations the way you pass by a thorny valley while protecting yourself and your clothes. We have to be particular about perfection. And Sheikh Abdul Jalil, the Imam at our masjid, subhanAllah, he orated this in a very beautiful way. And I'll sum it up by saying different strokes for different folks, right? That we have to do our fara'id, right? And in getting to Jannatul Firdaus, we're all on the Siratul Mustaqim. And this Siratul Mustaqim doesn't have to be a one-lane freeway, right? Like, there is extracurriculars, there is the lane that brother so-and-so is in, the left lane, which is he prays the Hajj every night, right? And then the next lane over, sister such and such is in the fasting Mondays and Thursdays lane, right? And then the middle lane is giving sadaqah and taking care of the poor. That's what another person is in. And all of those lanes, inshallah ta'ala, reach to Jannah. But sometimes we plateau. It's like we physically plateau, right? Like when you're hitting, like when you're in high school, you're hitting biceps and bench every day, right? But when you're a full-grown adult, you notice that, hey, you keep doing the same exercise, you plateau. You got to switch it up. So it's possible, or at least for myself, I've noticed that I also spiritually plateau, and I have to change it up a little bit. If I'm particular about fasting Mondays and Thursdays, gotta swing into the tahajjud lane. I gotta swing into sometimes into giving that sadaqah lane. Inshallah, I hope someone can benefit from that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Inshallah. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فأستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.
Jazakallah, Brother Aasim. You know, just to let everyone know, like this wouldn't have came about if Brother Aasim didn't force us all to get on a call together, and we did. And subhanallah, right? You know, it's so funny. On that first call, we actually had Wissam Sharif, Ustadh Wissam Sharif, hop on the call as well. We're trying to plan out this crazy program for the youth, and subhanallah, it's 2:20 in the morning, and we're pushing. We're almost done. We're on our last session. So Brother Aasim, Jazakallah khair for that. He is out in San Diego. So if you guys are in San Diego or not part of a youth group, ICSD NEXTGEN, follow them on Instagram. We have 3 giveaways left, by the way. Sheikh, Brother Aasim's question was, what are the 3 nafs that are mentioned in the Quran? I just want to let you guys know what we have left in regards to giveaways. And then we will go to my Shaykh at ISOC. And that number, again, just so you guys know, that number is, let me find this. Oh yeah, that number, it's 786-373-6993, 786-373-6993. Here are the last 3 gifts that we have. One is from a business called Paint Artistry. They're actually giving away a Bismillah coaster. Very cool business. You can check them out on Instagram. It's Paint Artist and then RY, Paint Artistry on Instagram. They ship globally. Just DM them to order. We also have pajamas from twinkled.eid. Find them on Instagram as well. And they also have a Shopify. Very neat, nice Instagram. We're not going to tell you what you're going to be winning. Then we also have a cookie box from Swan's Cupcakes, local here. Who doesn't like cupcakes? I know I do. So inshallah, we'll move to our next session, which will be our last session with, it's only proper to end the late night Sheikh show with the Sheikh that's going to be on the latest part of the night. Sheikh Shahid, Jazakallah khair, he's rating from ISOC. He is engineer by day and Sheikh Imam by life. Sheikh Shahid.
Keep it up with this guy, like seriously.
All right, I'm just going to start, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, I'm honored to finally make it to the late night Sheikh show. I've been watching the show for so long and finally actually been invited to be on the show. SubhanAllah, it's like, you know, I've been waiting for this moment for my whole life. But anyhow, I'm honored obviously to be part of all these speakers here, mashallah, to be with them. And alhamdulillah, representing their youth group and putting so much work in with their you know, their members of their youth group and the masjid and different organizations they're in. And so may Allah continue to all the brothers and sisters that are here. Alhamdulillah, representing MYG, ISOC, alhamdulillah, we have an amazing youth group, alhamdulillah, like all of your youth groups also. And may Allah bless them. They're going crazy on their on our internal chat group right now. And alhamdulillah, we're doing a lot of good programs here in this Ramadan. So anyhow, yeah, I think I don't, Hassan, should I just start, or how did you want to do it?
Well, I know I kind of want to start with a question for your session. So I know there's like a lot of struggles a youth face, but like before we get into that, is there a root to all of that?
You know, like, yeah, that's one of my topics, is talking about, you know, struggles. And when we talk about struggles with youth, you know, there's many things. And one thing I actually was going to ask some of the youth group leaders here on our panel here to kind of say what they have experienced. You know, we could talk about social media. We talk about wasting time. We could talk about pornography. We could talk about, you know, relations people shouldn't be in, disrespecting parents and all those different things, trying to have that relationship with your parents and all these different things. But I think a couple of things that what we could kind of go over, like if there is a root to a lot of things, this one thing is this, you know, of course, our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but a couple of things that I can mention. And when we're talking about struggles, you know, we're not talking about, you know, I read 1 juz of Quran, I'm trying to read 2, and I fast, you know, Monday and Thursdays, you know, I'm trying to fast a little bit more. And we're not talking about if you're already doing khair and you're trying to build on it. That's not the struggles we're looking at. But the struggles we're looking at is that if that, you know, involved in something that might be displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, you know, we're human, we make mistakes, different tests come towards our way. And I think all the speakers have kind of been speaking about that, what, you know, different youth and different our own selves will we go through. And I just want to mention this hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that kind of gives a root of some of the things what we end up falling into, some of the pitfalls that we end up going into and have to try to climb back out, you know, we fall in these different struggles. So the Prophet ﷺ mentioned this hadith here, it's mentioned Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. It's also the 6th hadith, Imam Nawawi's 40 hadith collection, which says, Inna al-halala wa inna al-harama bayyinun. But the Prophet ﷺ says that the halal and the haram are clear. There's certain things that are very clear, there's no issue with it, if you will. You know, can I eat vegetables? You know, of course, halal, yani. Stealing, it's obviously haram. No one's going to debate that, right? You know, certain things like the eating pork, no one's going to debate that. That's very clear. But then the Prophet ﷺ mentions that bainahuma umurun mutashabihat. That between these are issues, are things that are in the gray area. They're very doubtful, and that's where a lot of people get stuck in because we're like, no, it's not haram, it's not halal. You know what? You know, everyone else is doing it, etc. Right? And the Prophet says not only like, you know, not everyone knows what the ruling of this is, which ends up being debatable. And then the Prophet says that man ittaqa shubahat, right? Faqad istabara bi dinihi wa irdihi. That whoever just stays away from doubtful things, you know, like should I be like looking at these pictures, you know, should I be chatting, you know, with his sister? I don't know, like, you know, we're not looking like we're talking about our project anymore. We're talking about other things, right?
Should I follow Hassan on Instagram?
Should I follow Hassan? You know, I don't know if this is the things he's doing.
I gotta say something on that.
Is it increasing my iman or am I going lower? I mean, I'm not too sure, right? We're giving him a hard time sometimes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so like when you talk about like youth struggles, what's the root of stuff? I've said this multiple times. Like if y'all trying to get with a girl or a brother or a sister, y'all gotta not get her digits, you gotta get the Baba's digits. It's about the Baba's digits. Sheikh Shahid's actually working on a course right now since he has more time. We're gonna do a training on that for all the brothers, inshallah.
We'll make a matrimonial cycle.
I was on a break, but I came back just to stop this madness.
I think he wants to start a website called babadigits.com, and that's like a matrimonial site.
Like, I have 3 daughters, and I will personally shut that website down.
Wouldn't you rather have the dude hit you up though, Aasim? Like
absolutely, exactly. But not through you.
Yeah, not through
a website run by you.
But Sheikh Shahid's right. Like, think about it. When someone's DMing you, right, or someone's following you, like, yo, why are they really following you? Why should you follow this person back? What do you really want to see from their newsfeed or from their stories? Or like, what do you get out of it? It's actually really weird for some of the brothers. And you should see some of the sisters' DMs. I've heard some crazy stories. There's some weird brothers out there. May Allah protect all of our DMs.
You have any stories to share with us, Hassan?
Oh man, the sisters got some crazy stories. They're like, if you guys think I'm like cringy with my outfits, DM cringe stories are like super cringe. Big shot.
Let me continue with this hadith, inshallah. So the Prophet said, whoever stays away from doubtful matters saves himself from their religion and their honor and their reputation and their character, right? If you just saw like, oh man, I don't know if I should be involved with, you know, speaking to the sister, then khalas, yani, and you just kind of end it. Or, you know what, I shouldn't watch these videos. Boom, just hit the X on the screen right there and just close it down, right? But if you're able to stay away, I think this is doubtful. I think the music I'm listening to is a little bit doubtful. You know, khalas, yeah, I'm gonna leave it, right? So the Prophet, if you're able to just do that right away, then you're gonna save yourself. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned something very interesting right after this. He says that he gives an example of a shepherd. We're talking about shepherd's meat here now. Everyone, you know, this word is getting more familiar now with people, right? You just have to define what a shepherd is. But he gives an example of a shepherd. Of course, that's an analogy of what the companions of the Prophet would be familiar with at that time. And so he said there's a shepherd with a bunch of sheep, and they go out into an area. And of course, the shepherd, what his main job is to take these sheep out to an area. You know, they feed, and then he brings them back into the farm or wherever it needs to go, right? They need to go. And so he gives an example that there is a shepherd, he brings out this sheep, getting close to someone else's land, right? You're not supposed to cross over and eat the other person's grass, right? There's some other, you know, restricted area, government property, you know, you're not supposed to go over there. But the shepherd goes and brings his sheep really close. And the Prophet getting really tells that they're almost getting as close, very close to that fine line. You really can't tell where that line is at. So the Prophet gives you this kind of picture, right? And then the Prophet says that, you know, that everyone has their sanctuary, that this, you know, this land that's not, is forbidden. And the land of Allah that's forbidden is what he has made forbidden for us. And then the Prophet gives an example of something that's in the body of a person, that if it becomes bad, the whole body becomes bad. And if it's good, the whole body becomes good. But let me go back to the example of, because this hadith is in 3 parts. It's very interesting. He gives an example. There's certain things that are halal, there's certain things that are haram, and then there's stuff in the middle that people don't know, right? And whoever doesn't involve himself in the things that are in the middle will save himself. That's one part of the hadith. And then he's talking about this, you know, this shepherd all of a sudden, right? And it's very interesting about this whole analogy of the shepherd, because he said the shepherd brings his sheep really close to a land that it's forbidden for those sheep to go into. And if you look at this analogy here, I could ask you, what does the sheep represent, and what does the shepherd represent? And the sheep, obviously, you know what they do. They just sit down and they just eat, or they just, you know, keep on eating. They don't care if that's someone else's land or if that's their land. Their job is just to eat. They just eat. They don't care. They don't look up and see if they crossed the line or whatever. And so that represents our nafs, right? Our nafs just kind of goes. It's enjoying itself. You know, the conversation with that sister or that video you're watching. It's just, you know, it's just going. It doesn't care how long you've been watching that video, or if that's the second one you're watching, or if that's the third one you're watching, etc. And the shepherd is actually our own rational decisions, right? Because someone could come and say like, hey, Mr. Shepherd, what the heck are you putting your sheep really close to this line for? You know you're not supposed to be here. He's like, oh, okay, well, you know, my bad, whatever. But you could have brought your sheep like way over there, like way in this other land, and you would have had no issues, right? You wouldn't have close. But you purposely came and brought your sheep over here. And that's like us, right? Sometimes we know like, hey, I have the TikTok app on my phone. I purposely did it. And then I just started watching one video, and then now it's like the sheep. It's just eating now. But we made the decision to open up that app. We made the decision to download it on our phone, right? We made the decision to keep on scrolling through those videos on YouTube, or to keep on chatting back to that person. And now we're into it. We're like that sheep. It's hard. And it's very beautiful, the analogy of this sheep, right? Of sheep, because a sheep, like I said, they don't care. They just keep on eating. And one could cross the line and go to someone else's land. And then what's the shepherd going to do? Like, hey, dude, what are you doing? You're not supposed to care, Mr. Sheep number one. And it brings them across. And what's going to happen? There's going to be a sheep behind him that's going to go and cross over again. And then he's going to try to push this one back. And next thing you know, that same one he pushed back, it's going to go back. It's going to be too hard, right? They're just going to go all over. It's going to be hard to push all of them back. And that's like our nafs. That's like our desires, right? Once it's going, it's hard to pull back because we're already in that area. We shouldn't have been in that area in the first place. And when we talk about struggles, right, is it that we kind of put ourselves in these areas rationally, we make those decisions, and then we get stuck on them because our nafs just keep on eating it, right? So the thing is, though, when we talk about the roots of struggles, is that we have to make sure we make better decisions, right? And not like the shepherd that decided to take his sheep really close to this area that's forbidden. He should have took it way far away, right? I should have been on a website that I knew that would be nothing wrong with that. I knew that I should cut this conversation with the sister a long time ago. I wouldn't be in this situation. The third part of this hadith that makes it very interesting, at the end, the Prophet said that in the body there is a piece of flesh. If it's good, if it's salih, yani, so if it's salihat, right, the whole body will becomes right and good. But if it's corrupt, then the whole body becomes corrupt. And then he says, ala wa hiya al-qalb, and it is the heart, right? So you look at this hadith and you're like, hold on, we're talking about things that are halal, things that are haram, and then between it there's like, you know, things that are doubtful. And then we got this analogy now of a sheep and a shepherd and his sheep. And then the last thing the Prophet talking about, there's something in the body that if it's corrupt, then the whole body is corrupt. If it's good, the whole body is good, and it's a heart. And then you can look at the hadith like, wait, hold on, how did all these things like, you know, putting together? And one thing I could ask the attendees, if you could type really quick, is that what is the relationship? What is the alaqa, yani? What is the relationship between the Prophet's words at the end of the hadith, saying that if there's something in the heart, if the heart is corrupt, then the whole body would be corrupt. And if the heart is good, then the whole body will be good. What is a relationship of that saying with the rest of the hadith, right? And if you get that, you get it. You get the whole picture, right, of how people fall into things that are doubtful. And like I said, if you type really fast, and inshallah, you can put your answer there. I don't know if anyone's putting their answers in there. You have to.
Can you put your question real quick one more time, please?
So the question is, at the end of the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says that in the body there is basically the heart. In the body there's a piece of flesh. If it becomes good, the whole body becomes good. If it becomes bad, the whole body becomes bad, and that is the heart. What does that have to do with the shepherd and the sheep? And there's doubtful matters, right? What is that? And then certain things are halal, certain things are haram, and between it there are doubtful matters. What is the relationship of that last saying about the heart, right? The flesh and the body, right? Which is the heart, have to do with anything that was said before? And that is what the point that I'm trying to get at. Right, and then how we have Ustadh Zuhair on the panelists here that's putting his wording there. But I'll let
Did I win? Did I win Shepherd's meat?
I don't know. I thought we gave it away already, did we?
We did. I didn't announce yet, but we did.
I feel like Shepherd Meat's kind of sponsored the segment. Just saying.
This would have been better because I had the shepherd example, man. Like, can we take it back from somebody?
I'm just gonna change my picture to this the whole time.
So oh man. So the thing is, though, what the Prophet ﷺ is trying to depict for us is that what caused the shepherd to put his sheep really close to that line that he shouldn't be in, what causes people to get in doubtful matters, is that there's an issue with the heart first and foremost, right? That is the real reason what is that the issue is here, especially in this month of Ramadan. Right, we have to make sure that we kind of work on this heart. And I think a lot of people already brought multiple things already on how that we need to focus on our heart and kind of work on it. And honestly, we need a whole segment of how do we make sure our heart is salih, yani, so we don't fall into anything that's haram. But the last thing, maybe I'll end on this last hadith here as we're kind of like running out of time, is that the Prophet ﷺ talks about, you know, what is good and what's right and what's right, righteousness, and what is sinful. And then what he talks about, if you want to know if you're doing a sin, he said that an itham ma haqqa fi sadrika. He said that al itham, the sin, is what kind of makes your heart like kind of make it don't feel good, like you feel like you're bothered. Now this might be a bad analogy, but if those ever been bloated before, you know, you're like, I just don't, you know, you feel really uncomfortable. Right?
Like me right now.
You're standing in line with Tarawih and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to make the next rak'ah. That kind of feeling, you know, if you know what I mean, right? That, you know, you feel kind of, you feel like really uncomfortable. You're like, oh my gosh, you know? And so.
Still there?
I think we all just got kicked off. I think we're back.
Okay.
Well, I can't put my video on.
Oh, we're almost done, guys. It's actually the ending. So I think we just got kicked out, but everything happens for a reason. Subhanallah.
Shahid shouldn't have talked about the Tarawih burps, because that's the one thing we don't miss.
Wow.
Hey, that shut down the Zoom.
Did it shut down the YouTube?
I don't know.
A lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
The
stream restarted. Yeah, the stream restarted.
Okay.
By the way.
I have no idea. SubhanAllah.
I thought it was
I think all the participants are still on as well. So for those that are still with us, Jazakallah khair. We just had a little technical difficulty. It happens. You know, they say humans aren't perfect, but technology is way more imperfect than us. So.
Make sure. Take all the
it's back live now.
Alrighty. I'm not too sure exactly where I left off on right there, but here the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ said that basically that if you want to know if you're doing something wrong, it basically makes your heart uncomfortable. And then he also says that that you dislike that people would actually find out about it, right? And this is how it could help you before you get into some of these struggles, that you would dislike that people would know. How many of us would want to post our browser history like publicly? You know, that's our last month. You know, this is my browser history of what I did. Inshallah ta'ala, you know, we're able to do that. And all you're going to see is like, you know, some news articles and, you know, I don't know.
You first, Sheikh Shahid, then I'll go next.
Zain Bika, Nasheed, you know, we were watching and stuff like that. MashaAllah, we're saying A's for Allah and so forth, right? But if you would dislike that someone will take your chats of your, you know, your WhatsApp groups and your DMs, right, and post that somewhere, right, or the videos you were looking at TikTok from your history and post that somewhere, like how would you feel, right? And so would you dislike that? And so the Prophet is saying that is itham. That is like the definition of sin. That's how you kind of know your heart should navigate yourself from there, so you don't fall into these struggles in the first place. The problem is sometimes if the heart doesn't feel anything and it's dead, it's not going to give you a sign. Hopefully that's not the case for anyone, inshallah ta'ala, that's here with us tonight. If you're still with us at 2:40 in the morning, right? At least Pacific Standard Time, that you know, that inshallah ta'ala we don't have that. Our heart is something that is alive, especially in the month of Ramadan, and kind of tells us like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. So we could kind of use that inshallah ta'ala as we're going through struggles, right? Is to kind of take that hint. And a lot of us like, hold on, I got that hint. I know, I feel that feeling before. I know what you're talking about, but it's hard to stop yourself at that time, right? Just like the sheep, they keep on eating. And that's where the whole self-will, determination, your willpower to kind of stop yourself and know what, I'm going to hit the Xbox on that, not Xbox, the PlayStation, the console, but the X on the top of the screen of that video player, right? And shut it down, or be able to stop the music that maybe you might be listening to, or close out that chat box that maybe you shouldn't be chatting with something, or stop an argument maybe you're having with your parents and to say, you know what, I'm just going to walk off to the next room or put my head down and not continue with it. You're able to catch yourself. That's the whole point there. And this is a 1 month that inshallah ta'ala that hopefully we can benefit from that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us that willpower, that if we do follow into some of these things, that we're able to pull ourselves out, and then we could follow along with Ustadh Zuhair, basically his topic about Tawbah and asking Allah for forgiveness, and follow into that, right? And then maybe move on to Sister Samar's topic of, you know, the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, and you know, that, and some attributes that he has in terms of forgiveness, etc. So this is something I just wanted to share, inshallah ta'ala. I didn't want to make it too long and winded. Obviously we had a lot of reminders for tonight, but I kind of love this hadith. I love how it's depicted and how the Prophet ﷺ kind of worded it. It has these kind of 3 layers, if you will, of to help us, inshallah ta'ala, in our struggles there. So that's all I kind of wanted.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Shahid. As we're wrapping up, if you guys could just share, for those that are still on, maybe 1 or 2 sentences, maybe a piece of advice that we can close out the session with, inshallah, and then we'll end with dua with Sheikh Shahid. For those of you guys that are still on with us, Jazakallah khair. It's been one subhanallah, mashallah, alhamdulillah event. I think this is probably one Qiyam, one talk show you're going to remember for the rest of your life. Allah bless us with an opportunity to get together in a way that we wouldn't have been able to. So Jazakallah khair for everyone that's been on here. For those that still want prizes, just remember the number is 786-373-6993. I'm going to share my screen very quickly, and then we'll close out the session, inshallah. Just to let you guys know, there are still some prizes. We have Swan cupcakes. We have paint artistry. It's giving away a coaster. We have Twinkled Eid that's also giving away pajamas. And then we also have another business called PTBM. It's proud to be Muslim. They're actually going to be giving away wristbands. So I actually even thought about the last question. Sheikh Shah, do you have a question that we can ask for the last question?
That's a great thing. My talk was quite brief, so I think most people would get it.
What was a piece of the body that messed with the whole body? That is the question. I probably worded that wrong. 786-373-6993.
With a Bollywood accent.
What was the lastly, I want to say, if I skipped anything, I apologize. For everyone that's been with us with different time zones, thank you so much. But if we could go around real quick, just share one piece of advice or a reflection from tonight. Could be 1, 2 sentences, nothing more, and then Sheikh Shahid, inshallah, we'll close out with dua. We'll start with you, Brother Aasim, and we'll go to Brother Zuhair, then we'll go to Sister Samar, and then we'll finish with you, Sheikh Shahid.
I think I'll just kind of reiterate the theme, which is what really matters, right? I think from every speaker tonight, alhamdulillah, we learned how to come back to what really matters, and that's basically prioritizing our deen over our dunya, the hereafter over this life, our spiritual needs over our physical needs, our heart, as Sheikh said, over our body. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. And I want to thank the special guests that came on, Sheikh Omar, Jazakallah khair for coming back, Sheikh Billoo. I see Sheikh Abdurrahman Murphy has been showing a lot of love. He must be on that good coffee throughout the night. So Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Zuhair.
Just again, like what Aasim just said, mashallah, jazakallah khair to everyone, the interpreters, all the panelists, everyone attending. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward everyone for their intention of seeking knowledge this night, and hopefully they take away and come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of it. My only thing that I can say honestly is just make sure you pray Fajr tonight or this morning.
Stay up. Stay up.
Yeah, don't forget about that.
Yeah, don't be all talk. Let's talk and walk at the same time, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, brother Zuhair.
Yeah, bro.
I wanna echo the thanks to all the organizers and the speakers and the ASL interpreters and the help of the Muhsin organization that helped make that happen. My closing thoughts for tonight is, you know, we're talking about our need to have a great relationship with Allah. We're talking about our need to rectify our spiritual laziness. We're talking about a need to stay away from the doubtful matters or to pull ourselves out, you know, from potentially falling into sin if we're close. All of that cannot be done without the help of Allah. We have to, you know, so I just got a question about, like, what do we do if we feel guilty, you know, about our spiritual laziness? And to that person asking, and to all of us, I want to remind ourselves to not feel stuck there. When we have a problem and we see our deficiencies, that's supposed to turn us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who's the most perfect, who has no deficiency, and who can give us whatever we're missing, and who can rectify our worship. You know, we have to live that we're not relying on ourselves to do this. We're not relying on ourselves to do this right. And that's the essence of when we say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There's no ability to turn away from something or to do something without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have to keep connected with knowing that He is the source of our ability to do anything proactively good, or to turn away from something, or to get ourselves out of something. So let's always constantly, say the dua that the Prophet advised the companion to say after every salah. Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. Oh Allah, assist me and help me to remember you and to be grateful to you and to worship you with excellence. It's all coming from Allah, guys, and let's not get stuck with thinking it's all going to come from ourselves.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Samar. For those that have been pushing through, it's 2:48 a.m. PST. We have different time zones here. If you guys want to do something you guys want to remember, take a screenshot or a picture that you guys are still on. You guys will remember this for the rest of your life, inshallah. Sheikh Shahid, feel free to close out with some dua.
Do you want to ask? Sheikh Omar is actually still there.
Oh, you know what? Oh yeah, Sheikh Omar is still there. Before I have to announce some winners. I'm so sorry, I forgot. The Shepherd Meats box winner. The last four digits is 7696. 7696. Congrats. You're gonna have a really tasty Ramadan. And then the next winner, I believe, was for Sheikh Aasim's brother Aasim's question about the three nafs. That last four digits is 7051. We'll actually let you pick your prize. And I don't know if we have a winner for Sheikh Shahid's question. When we do, we'll reach out to you, inshallah. It's what part of the body is the one that messes up the rest of the body. Sheikh Omar, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here, guys. I'm here.
Go for it.
I want to say Jazakumullah khair to everyone for attending, for everyone working behind the scenes, for all of you guys. Hassan, mashallah, amazing job running the show as the host. Aasim for putting it together. Sheikh Shahid, Sister Samar, Zuhair, everyone, mashallah. The only thing, and I think that's my take home as well, is, you know, the path may be difficult. There may be bumps in the road, but it's worth the journey. And then one of the greatest things to help us on the journey are the people that we have around us that keep us grounded when we need it, that, you know, lift us up when we're down. So surrounding yourself, you know, with people that are going to be spiritually and just, you know, a support for you in all aspects of your life. So that's something I think that's really important as well.
Thanks for staying on. It's like 5 a.m. there.
Yeah, Zuhair, Sheikh Omar. He came back to see Ahmed Billoo and he got me. Sorry, bro. That's a disappointment.
No, last share I want to do, I know we've been talking about Muhsin.org. They're the ones that actually put together the ASL for us. You guys can check them out at muhsin.org. They have, you can do speaker requests. They're really reaching out to the special needs community for Muslims, and it's absolutely beautiful. They have different events, programs, and resources. They have Mondays with Mohsen. You guys can check out their website, and they also have an Instagram page as well. So Jazakallah khair again. Sheikh Shahid, I think I'm going to pass it on to you. And we do have the winner for Sheikh Shahid's question. Those last 4 digits end in 9307.
And one more thing about Mohsen, they have a really cool program, which is kind of they're very passionate about that right now, and I am too. It's about getting your masjid, your Islamic center, Mohsen certified, making sure that's accessible to everybody, everywhere. Inshallah. That makes sense. But yeah, look it up, inshallah.
Okay. Sheikh Shahid, I'm passing you the mic.
All right, inshallah. Yeah, before I start the du'as, I also want to thank everyone and all the attendees out there, actually, that you're more important to, alhamdulillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the tawfiq, the grace to be able to benefit from here. And alhamdulillah, I think one of the best things that we kind of maybe already stated already, that we're able to get all these different Islamic centers to kind of work together. And I think that's actually one of the most powerful things that we have in this ummah, is actually the unity that we have, the brotherhood, and all these different youth groups and Islamic centers and organizations. I think that's beautiful that we're able to be here all together, even though through different time zones. So at the end, inshallah ta'ala, we'll make dua. Ya Kareem, Ya Rabbil Alameen, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask you to send your peace and blessings on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his companions until the day of judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask you to accept this night from us, put it on a scale of hasanat on Yawm al-Qiyamah, make it a proof for us and not a proof against us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, help us stay away from spiritual laziness, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, help us learn your names and come close to them and implement it in our lives, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, help us perform sincere tawbah to you, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, and accept our tawbah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, help us in our struggles that we go through, make us strong enough to prevent us and save our eyes, our hearing, our touch, our mouth from things that are displeasing to you, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات يا كريم يا رب العالمين اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا يا رحمن الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Ameen. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah subhanahu bless all of you. And inshallah ta'ala, hopefully that may Allah subhanahu reunite us all once again to do a program together, hopefully in person. That would be nice, inshallah ta'ala. And alhamdulillah, may Allah bless all of you guys. Inshallah, hopefully see you for the next program.
Jazakallah khair. This is actually our first and last annual late night Sheikh show. You guys were part of history. Jazakallah khair for
all. What
the
the last annual for?
I know, why you gotta say last?
What do you mean?
Like, are we doing, unless we do another one?
Did you get the termination letter from ISOC already?
My bad.
Sheikh Shahid was quick with it.
He said it before. He said it in his promo video too.
I thought it was funny because it was like a one-time kind of thing, but like, whatever.
Yeah, one time with you.
What's the takeover?
Honestly, on a serious note, I just want to thank Brother Hassan for doing setting this up the way he did. With his sense of humor and his putting himself out there. It's
all Brother Aasim. It's not me. I'm his puppet.
And you're allowing us to roast you, so jazakallah khairan. But it really does do a lot to help us feel this cohesiveness all together.
The only person that can roast me is me. You got to know yourself. Hashtag Imam.
Is this the after party show, or are we ending it? Or no?
What was the hashtag? What was the hashtag, Hassan?
I don't even remember. Jazakallah khair again, everyone. Don't forget to eat some food and pray Fajr. I know it's a great time staying up all night, but let's not waste it by not praying or just crashing right now. Jazakallah khair for our interpreters, our Shaykh. I had a great time. If you did as well, make sure to reach out to us in the DMs. Give us some feedback on how you like the program, what things we could do better. And Jazakallah khair for your time. This is Hassan Minhaji signing out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Just one thing before we end. I want make sure everyone just goes and checks out all of the youth groups and youth pages and Facebook pages and Instagram. Everyone's doing amazing stuff this Ramadan. Just go show everyone love, inshallah. And like Hassan said, just make sure everyone prays Fajr and Assalamu alaikum.
Again, thanks to Ibrahim, Nazneen, Iqra, I forgot the guy's name, Al-Kabani from Ansar Youth. All the hard workers with spaces we don't get to see. Jazakallah khair.
Shepherd Meats Barbecue coming soon.
Inshallah. All right, assalamu alaikum everyone.
Salam.